Welcome to Sports Bros, another episode. I just want to welcome everybody here today. Just letting everybody know, you guys already know how it is. Four brothers talking about sports all day, every day. We got Amos, we got Alan, and of course, um, Alan will be talking a little bit more for us, asking us a couple questions. But um, we're gonna go from here. We're gonna see how the NBA is heading out right now, and then about the NFL Combine and the NFL Draft coming up. So go ahead, Alan. Go ahead and start us off.
All right, guys. So I was thinking that we'd actually start with the NBA today. We won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but there's a lot to talk about over the weekend. Going to start off with you, Amos. What do you think about this weekend as far as the playoff situation goes? Was there any surprises that you had? What's the biggest takeaway from the weekend that you had?
Okay, good question, Alan. Honestly, the big takeaway for me as of this moment right now is honestly just the New York Knicks, right? Talking about one of the biggest franchise in all of sports, specifically, especially NBA. They've been down for how long, guys? And I'm not sure. They've kind of been almost a running joke, and so I know they weren't favored to win the series, and they've kind of took a stronghold of that series to go up 3-1. I thought that was the biggest thing that kind of stood out to me. I know the Bucks, they lost the game. Actually, the Bucks have lost 2 games, and so I know that would probably be the second biggest thing I would say. Obviously, anytime a number 1 seed is down in a series going into game 4, it's a notable situation. So I would say those two are probably the biggest situations. I know on the flip side in the West, the Nuggets finally lost a game, but I'm not sure if they're really too worried about losing the series. They've only lost 1 game, so I think they have a control of the series. So I would just say the big 2 games, the biggest takeaways are just the Knicks kind of, controlling that series. You see Cleveland, you can kind of see the inexperience with them, especially down the stretch. Defensively, they've given up a lot of buckets, but besides them, I would say, the biggest game certainly is the Bucks going down to 1-2, going to Miami on Monday. So tonight, I know last week, I know Efren and I had said we weren't too worried about Milwaukee. You're talking about Giannis, arguably the best player in the league, and we thought that they'd be able to kind of fight through that, and we weren't really too worried about Giannis missing too much time. And even if he did, we believed that Milwaukee would still comfortably win that series. And so far, it's been kind of the opposite with them losing. So that's the big game I would take away, Alan, is just that certainly the Bucks and Heat. I mean, whenever the number 1 seed is down, I gotta give Heat credit. They lost Tyler Hero. So that's a big injury as well. So they've been losing some people as well. So that's the big game that stands out to me.
Okay. What about you, Efren?
So me, I've been the Knicks have surprised me. I like that they're people that picked up off of free agency, that they acquired to the team have been showing up. Their players have been showing up, and that is you guys know I had Cleveland going to the Eastern Conference Finals. The Knicks are just showing a whole another aspect, man. Especially yesterday, that big decision in the fourth quarter, when I was watching that Tom Thibodeau bench their all-star player, Randall, for the whole fourth quarter and just let the Knicks ride whoever they had. So, that was very impressive. Of course, we are talking about Milwaukee and the Heat. They are in Miami. Miami is up 2-1. I see how big of a miss Giannis is for Milwaukee. And those backups that we thought that would be able to, what is that word? To contribute to where they had to be, are not showing up for Milwaukee, and that's hurting them a lot. I also feel for Miami, who lost Victor Oladipo. I know he hasn't been playing a lot, but my prayers go out to him. And that knee injury again. What a talented player to be lost to injuries, man. It comes to show you that you can be one day great in the NBA and then not that good, and later on, and hopefully he gets better. Now going to the Western Conference. Oh, sorry. back to the Eastern Conference. Philadelphia, nice sweep, but the Nets had them in the last 3 games. But good job that the Philly proved that they could get out of it, because it wasn't too good playing those no names, and were getting put up in games when they should have been sweeping them like nothing, beating them by 20. I told everybody here that first game was a fluke. They weren't going to win by 20 all the time. So now going to the West, we have Golden State and the Warriors. Of course, we talked about it. That is the series to watch. The Kings took care of business at home, and the Warriors, they took care of business at home, but they were that close yesterday, that close from a mental breakdown from your star player, that close.
Efren, what was the mental breakdown? Can you go ahead and share that with me? That
the
was I
mental
actually missed
breakdown
that.
was that you do not know how many timeouts you have left when there's less than a minute left in the game, and you call one when you're up 4, and you get a technical shot, and then of course you got the most clutch player come back and hit a 3 in your guys' face to make it a 1-point game. But your star player, Stephen Curry, whatever, calls a timeout when he knows they have no more timeouts. So that your best player would have cost you guys that game, and I would want to see how Golden State fans would have reacted to that. But now you're going back to Sacramento on Wednesday. Now it's best out of 3, and like I said, I just don't see Golden State winning the game in Sacramento. But it's kind of hard for Sacramento to win a game in Golden State. But I think Golden State doesn't have what Sacramento still has. Of course, we just heard about the injury of De'Aaron Fox. Yeah, they say he's doubtful, but I think he'll play through it. I just think they're gonna find offense through somebody else, and they have the depth to prove it. Golden State, like I said, Golden State needs Steph Curry to play all 48 minutes of these games for them to win. So if anything happens to Steph, this game is that series is over. But like I said, you need Steph on the court. Golden State needs Steph Curry on the court. There's a big what is that called? Big difference in points when he's on the court and when he's not on the court. So
yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
And then of course we talked about Denver. I watched the game last night. Denver, Timberwolves got lucky. They got one at home. Timberwolves have been playing their butt off, but Denver have shown that they have 3-point shooters, and they're supposed to be doing this. They're supposed to be making sure they're in a close game. But last night, Timberwolves got that one game. Hopefully that momentum doesn't change, and Denver finishes them off at home. And like I said, Phoenix, just too much for the Clippers. Game 1, I thought it was going to go to Game 7, but now that I've seen that Kawhi's not playing the full 7-game series, you're down 3-1. Phoenix should finish them off tomorrow, hopefully. I know what I feel like people have been talking down on Kawhi, but you can't talk on somebody like I was talking to Alan earlier. You can't talk down on one of these players that's going through a lot of stuff in his life right now. He proved in Game 1 that he is still one of the guys to beat. I don't care what anybody says. Game 2, they had the game, and Phoenix is just too much. And Game 3 is just, you got no star players, and Phoenix just took over and did what they had to do. But that's my take on everything. Phoenix finishes them off hopefully by tomorrow, and Denver tomorrow, and then we see that Phoenix versus Denver series happen, and let's see if Denver can really play against a team that has players that can make plays.
Sounds great. I'll give you my takeaways from the weekend. I think on the Eastern Conference side, the best series is definitely probably the Cleveland New York Knicks series. I think Cleveland is showing their youth. The Knicks, I believe the biggest takeaway from them is the fact that their coach is actually making some really good decisions as far as play of the team, how he's taking control of the situations that they have at hand with the players that he has on the floor, and then running with it. It seems to me like he's got a really good grasp of his players and who is playing well together. I'm really surprised by Cleveland. They're showing not only the youth, but I think a lot of it has to do with the depth of that team. There's no real no real depth to the team. They're playing, 7, 8, 9 guys, but four or five of those guys aren't really doing much when they're on the court. So one of the things that I was mentioning before we got started is I think that a lot of these teams that were the lower seeds or the younger teams in the brackets, the coaching staffs just don't have a real good handle on their teams and their capabilities and who they should be playing on the court. I think that for me, the biggest surprise in the East is Philadelphia. I'm just kind of surprised that they swept Brooklyn. I thought Brooklyn would get still one of those games, and they probably should have, maybe two of them actually. But Philadelphia was able to prevail, and that reminds me of something I saw. I saw this thing on Dr. J this weekend, Amos, and it was incredible, man. It was like a 30 for 30, but it was actually on the NBA channel, and I'll talk about that with you a little bit later. But I think that they just had too many weapons. Maxey played really well in the last two games of that series. Tobias played really well the last two games of that series. I'm still waiting for Harden to kind of show up, although he's there and he's doing what he needs to do. I just think that he should be doing more, to be honest with you. They showed some depth. I think they played like 9 guys in the last two games of that series, and they all performed pretty well. But watch out for the Nets. I think that's a team that could they could be a force in the league to come in the years to come.
Sorry for interrupting
One
you.
of the
Sorry for
what's
I
that?
wanted to say, I don't know if you seen who was there this weekend in New Jersey. I feel like they're a point guard away, and there's one point guard that I think is going to get traded or is going to leave and say bye bye to the West Coast. And I think
Who's
he might
that?
be going that way. Dame time.
You think so?
I
That's
think
right. He
so.
was in Philadelphia, wasn't he? Was it
Yeah, he
Philadelphia or New Jersey or
was
Brooklyn? He
talking
was in
about
Brooklyn.
it. He was saying that Miles Bridges, and what's it called, were two of the best players that he's seen play, and he wouldn't mind playing with them. So you
Well,
never know.
that
Yeah,
would be a
but
good situation for him.
Yes, it would.
I mean, it's going to be that time where you're hearing a bunch of Dame rumors, right? We hear this every offseason, especially now because people are basically begging the Trailblazers to trade Dame, who's been so loyal to their.
Well, hold on. Before you say anything about Amos, sorry, this should be me going. Dame's done in Portland after getting shut down with more than 15 games left. They said that Dame is done in Portland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen anything like that, but I was surprised to see him at the game.
I mean, I gotta see that still. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
hadn't heard anything, and one of the things that I do remember when they shut him down is he was actually in agreement with it, and he actually mentioned it before they brought it up about shutting it down because they know that he's a competitor and that he wants to play. But he actually said that I remember watching the press conference after I want to say they played Denver, and he was saying that I don't see us making the playoffs, so I wouldn't be opposed to shutting it down for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
if you can, while we talk,
that's a great bring up.
Well, but Efren, while we talk, you should look up to see where you saw that Portland's making it seem like they're going to trade him.
It came out on. They were talking about on Sports Center. It was right after after that Denver game. Hold on, right after that Denver game. I know they always say it's rumors, but after not giving him no help this year again, after him saying that they were going to start off how they were supposed to start off, not doing nothing after the trade deadline, you gotta put it. Dame is done in Portland. As loyal as he is, he's the one who's going to be requesting a trade. Just watch in the offseason.
I mean, I just know he scoffs every single time anyone tells him to move on. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're going to be wrong. I mean, I can see it. I mean, it's at some point it's going to come, right? But he's been extremely loyal. And literally yesterday or 2 days ago, I was seeing something where he was scoffing at why would he has to leave? Why can't he stay with the franchise for all of his career? So until I see it, I guess I'll acknowledge it, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, I do think he's at a period of time now where you're talking about someone who's 32, 33. I mean, he has to leave if he wants a chance at being. You can always win, on the bench, sure, but if you want to, still win while you're that guy, well, you got to leave pretty soon. So,
Yeah, he does. He's got to make that move pretty quickly. I agree with you on that.
Don't know what pieces they could trade for him. And I know Brooklyn should have some cap space, so I could maybe get in like a Fred VanVleet sweepstakes. I'm not saying he's Dame, but he's pretty good himself, and it wouldn't cost you the players. So we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Oh, and so what I was going to say is that I think one of the biggest things that I took away from the weekend is how much people are sleeping on Boston. I haven't heard anything about them, and they seem to be, they just seem to be firing on all cylinders right now. And granted, they are playing Atlanta. Atlanta did take Game 3 in Atlanta, but they went to sleep yesterday for some reason because they got blown out. And I see that series ending pretty quickly. But who's the Milwaukee matchup in Miami? Actually, that might actually be the best.
That's what I'm saying. Because
that might actually be the best matchup in the West right now because of the fact that Giannis isn't playing, and even though Miami is dealing with some injuries, because from what I understand, what's his face went out yesterday or Saturday's game. Don't they play tonight? They do play tonight, don't they? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do play tonight.
Boston plays.
But
don't they?
Boston. Let's see.
Let's see.
Yeah, Miami tonight. No, I think he was talking about Milwaukee and Miami.
Milwaukee and Miami.
Yeah, Milwaukee plays tonight.
And that's why when you asked me that question, all series, that's probably the most unique series because, like I said, you have a number 1 seed losing, and I know Miami's, like I said earlier, but and I mean I haven't believed them at all this year. But let's just be honest, they have so much playoff experience. We've talked about playoff Jimmy, and Milwaukee doesn't have Giannis, so I know obviously I had a lot more faith in Milwaukee without Giannis earlier in the week, but I'm telling y'all, this could be a series, man. This could end up being a 7-game series. Miami still isn't,
It very well could be in it. And one of the big takeaways that I've got from this series is the fact that there's such a big discrepancy between the regular season and the playoffs. I mean, when Giannis was out in the regular season, the team was able to pick themselves up and play at a different level, and they just haven't seemed to be able to do that in the playoffs. And I don't know if it's a situational thing or if it's because Miami is playing such good defense or what, but they just don't seem to be the same team as far as the guys that, the Portises and the Holidays and the, everybody that was, even Lopez hasn't really had a good game in this series at all so far. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and then in the next series, we'll, is it going to really matter that much because, playing so well. Boston seems to be playing so well. It might just be a Boston-Philadelphia final. I don't know, to be honest with you. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens on the West side. This is where I think a lot of coaching indecision has come into play. I think Minnesota's coach is had his hands tied because he doesn't know what he's doing. Um, uh, who was the 8 who was the 7th seed? Was
Lakers.
that the Lakers? Okay, so on that side, I think it's Memphis's coach is really he's struggling with, making decisions about his players and his playing time. Two things that I want to say though is Anthony Edwards is going to be a star in this league. A star in this league. The other thing is that I'm not so sold on Memphis anymore as much as I was early on in the year, because of the fact that I just don't think that they have the depth that I thought they had going into the playoffs. They've got guys that have just completely disappeared in the playoffs. What happened to Bane? This guy was wasn't he averaging like 21 points a game during the regular season? And I don't think he's even averaging double digits in the playoffs. Where's Jackson been in this series? You haven't really heard too much about him, and Davis has made him look like he's a small forward in the league or something.
Well,
So
I remember hearing Jackson had a monster game at first. I remember that. Remember Efren? Because I remember Efren saying
right,
he is that guy, and he.
But we haven't really seen much of him since then, though. That's what I'm kind of saying is that they've kind of. I don't know if it's cowering or if it's just it's a indecisive on the coach's part, or if that's even carrying on into the players.
Well, yesterday. Go ahead, Ms.
No, if you go ahead, I'll go. You.
The way I look at it is game 2. So game 1, he kept them in the game. Game 2, he was there, but Xavier Tillman took over, so he didn't have to do that much. Game 3. They said Jaw came back. I did not watch into that game, but people said Jaw came back. So I just think Triple J got Jaw's back. Maybe he could do something and I don't have to do nothing. You understand? That's why I'm thinking game 4, he's going to think in his head, we're going to see a big game from him here. The only thing that sucks now is even if he has a big game here, who's going to help him? The Lakers, right now, the way I look at it, the Lakers are playing as a team against Memphis. LeBron's not doing too much here and there, but other players are picking up the slack where he knows he don't have to. And I'm not talking in a bad way on LeBron. It's just that says that you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this, but these guys ain't going to be there. What happened game 2 when everybody thought Jaw's out? Oh, LeBron and them should. What happened to AD that game? You understand what I'm saying? When they feel like overconfident, the Lakers felt comfortable. That's where they got beat, and I feel that it's going to happen again tonight. That they feel comfortable with the 2-1 game, 2-1 being up 2-1. They will lose tonight because they will not show up.
It's a possibility. I don't want to read too much into that. What do you have to say, Amos?
Let me just jump in here real quick. So. First and foremost, man, LeBron James is absolutely dominating this series. He is, Efren. And I'm not
dominating. Bro, the refs have. How do you get hit one time under the belt and they what's it called? They eject you for the full game. You got refs under. Oh, we gotta take care of LeBron. That's not dominating, bro. He scores. He's having quiet, good games, 20-point games.
So let's not jump back and forth. So let me talk first. It was 35-9, okay? 35-9 before that even happened. So that had nothing to do with the Memphis Grizzlies getting their ass beat, okay? They got their ass beat. Secondly, LeBron James averaging 25 points, let me back up. He's averaging 24.7, so let's just give him 25. He's averaging 10.7 rebounds, so let's give him 11. So again, 25 points, 11 rebounds. He's averaging 4.3, so we'll say 4 assists. He's averaging 1.3 steals. I mean, Efren, you talk about his defense, especially in the playoffs.
How are you dominating when you're, bro? So that will win him the game. For LeBron playing like that will win them the game.
It's why they won. Yes.
If nobody else shows up. If nobody else shows up, Amos, LeBron playing like that will win them the game.
LeBron James, and he gets just so defensive.
Okay,
So
okay.
I'm asking you.
Let him finish. See, let him finish because this is where we kind of get off track a little bit. Okay, you get a second chance to talk. All right.
he's had so much. He said he has 25 times chances to talk, and then someone says something about LeBron James within 5
Okay,
seconds.
okay. Go ahead, E. Go ahead, Amos.
No, and Alan, I'm talking to you, Alan. You can't debate. Listen, he just wants to hate on LeBron James all the time, and he wants to give these guys
No,
statues.
well, I mean, we actually both understand that. I don't necessarily agree with him what he's saying. I mean, LeBron is doing what he's done all year,
At
and
the end of
he's
the day,
going to continue to do those.
my point is,
things.
effort plays LeBron and then wants to tout up everybody else. Oh, well, the other guys have been stepping up. The other guys have been doing this, blah, blah. So my point is, yes, the other guys have been doing well. I'm not saying that they haven't, but I'm just saying, give him some credit for a one-time. Damn, like he's averaging 25, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.3 steals, and almost 2 blocks a game in this series. He's killing. So, I mean, I'm not going to have, LeBron doing okay and the other guys stepping up. Dude, he's killing. With that said,
and he's finally getting the help that he should have got all year long, and this team wouldn't have had to be in the play-in.
Alan, that's my issue. It's Efren.
Yeah.
Efren, I love you. You know your stuff too, Efren. But my point is,
like I told you.
Oh, let me talk. So Efren's, instead of Efren being like, yeah, LeBron James is killing and he's getting help, Efren's just going to point out, oh, well, people are stepping up helping LeBron. So that's my point, Alan. We get this. KJ gets it, but Alan or Efren, you just hate LeBron. It is what
LeBron. It's the truth. If his
So
players don't step up, he don't win this game.
Killing it, and he's doing. He's not killing it. Then Efren.
With those
Talk about LeBron.
With those points.
Name
another star. Name another star. Name another. Steph Curry's scoring 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Steph Curry's scoring 30 points a game. That's why his team is in it and he's winning. Because he's stepping up for his team. Okay? We're talking about LeBron. So, if nobody else steps up for
LeBron, that's effort for you guys. We have to talk about other guys.
But listen, be honest with me. Be honest
We're
with
acting
me.
like Steph isn't getting any help though, bro. And he is.
He is. But ask me right here. If LeBron does not get this help from Hachimura or Austin Reeves, with those numbers, does LeBron still win the series like that? Be honest. Be honest.
It's not just those guys. AD is playing his behind off, man.
What happened to them game 2? What happened to them game 2?
Did they win game 2?
Memphis won game 2.
Memphis won game 2? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But you're gonna have those games when there are letdowns. You're not gonna, sweep everybody. You guys and honestly, bro, did you think that they would be up like they are right now? You're probably the first one that was going to say the Lakers weren't going to get past this round because I know I said it before it started, just because of the way they went into the end of the regular season.
But like we said, if these players are not stepping up, they don't play like this, right or wrong.
Chance, and now he's upset when they lose.
That's now the difference in the playoffs, though. Is that you're gonna
game 2 showed
the teams that
game 2 showed it.
Get consistent play from everybody are gonna be the winners of their series.
So we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this another day because I know after game 4 they'll have an excuse for LeBron again. Somebody will.
And we always Alan, and we know after even though
always an excuse for LeBron. Always an excuse for LeBron. That's all we have to say.
Where are we making excuses, bro? He is getting help from his team.
Excuse, smartass.
What?
He gets nothing. What's the excuse?
Making excuses?
Because you guys say that if he averages these points without getting this help, they will win this game. They'll win those games, right?
No one said that.
Nobody said that.
I'm telling you. But admit to it.
We've all said that he's getting help. He's getting help. And then you want to say that Steph Curry is averaging 30 points, but he's also getting help he's getting defensive help. He's getting scoring from other places on the team. He couldn't do this by himself. And I'll tell you right now that if they switch places, LA would have probably gotten swept already.
I don't think so.
I do.
Now he's so mad.
I don't think so.
I do.
Alan, end of the day, Memphis is struggling. They don't have leadership right now. You made a good point. They've had some injuries, so they're not as deep as we thought at all. And I'm actually looking at their points per game. They don't have enough guys who are helping the whole team because, like I said, Jaw was hurt, right? He was out or whatever the one game. But other than that, like Brooks hasn't shot very well at all. And then not to jump series, but like going back to this Miami Heat series and the Bucks, it's why Miami's doing so well because they have what 8 guys in double digits, man. Like Miami is out killing as a team. Then that's a team. Jimmy Butler, that's a guy who's getting help. Like they have 9. It's actually 9. I think the top 9 guys are averaging 8 points a game. 7 are averaging double digits. So not to keep jumping back and forth, I'm just saying like that's a team that's
the difference. Yeah, that's the difference in the series though, is that they're getting the help. You know, and I completely agree with you as far as that goes. I think that, one of the things that I noticed during that game yesterday with Memphis and LA was in the fourth quarter there was a stretch of like 5 or 6 minutes where he scored like 13 points and nobody in a row and nobody was doing. They were just standing around watching him.
I think at that point it was a blowout, right? And it hadn't Brooks got kicked out at that point, I believe, right? So
yeah,
and I think Jaren Jackson wasn't really. He was kind of quiet by then. So I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm just at the end of the day, I get Efren. Like he's not a big LeBron fan. We get it. But my point is, I'm not. You heard everything I said, Alan. I didn't say anything wrong. All I'm doing is giving you LeBron James stats. And yes, he's had some help, but he's killing this series. He's doing really well. That doesn't mean LeBron's the only player in the league killing. Because I know one person here is LeBron killing, and that means only him's killing. But I'm just saying he's doing really well, and
he wants to single him out. And nobody in the playoffs, not one team in the playoffs, has got one guy that's standing out so much that he's winning those series by himself. Nobody. There's nobody in the playoffs doing that.
And you expect that, but yet when it happens, you get upset, and then when he loses one time, you call him out, and it's just like you didn't even expect him to win a series in this playoffs. So it's just kind of funny. Let's change subjects, though.
With Memphis having nobody, they should have won that game too. It should be 3-0 Lakers right now, if you think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could, you could be right, but I mean, they played the game and Memphis won.
So
we just move on to the next one.
Should have been up 3-0. Thank you.
Was, that point sounded good. He thought it made him sound.
It should be a 3-0. Go ahead, Alan.
Well, if that's the case, then Golden State should have swept the Kings because they had double-digit leads in all 4 of those games.
Yeah, but
exactly, Efren.
The thing is that the Lakers didn't lead a single point.
But you're gonna make an excuse about them. See, but you can't give LeBron James a break, bro. Come on. Come on.
How sad?
No, bro. You can't have it both ways. Okay, you can't have it both ways.
How sad? How sad?
Yeah, it is. It's sad that you can't even realize that. You're going to make excuses for one team, but you can't make an excuse for another team.
I'm going by both, like what you guys said.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not, bro. You just said. You just said.
Swept. Okay, then.
They should have got swept. Right? They should have got swept, but they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
But who's leading the series between the Lakers and Memphis?
The Lakers are.
And who was the odds-on favorite going into that series?
Actually, if you look at it, there was a pick. If you actually look at it, it was a pick. Yeah, he knows. He's not.
Okay, maybe that's what the odds makers had it, but who did you have winning this series? Who did you have winning the series?
Because when you don't have Steven Adams or Ryan Clark,
who did you have winning the series, bro?
Okay.
Who did you have winning the series?
Memphis. I had Memphis winning the series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're probably not going to win this series.
When I say about odds, it was a pick because Ryan Clark and Steven Adams make a big difference.
Because Steven Adams isn't there, so yeah, there's LeBron's excuse for winning this series. Is Steven Adams isn't there, and Clark isn't there either. So. And Clark isn't there, so there's LeBron's excuse for winning this series.
We didn't even have these. We didn't even have these 2 teams going anywhere. Honestly,
it's all good.
If we think about it,
we're getting off topic. Okay, so. Let's see. What was I going to say? There was something I wanted to bring up. There was one thing that I wanted to bring up here. What was it? I should have wrote it down. I didn't write it down. All right. Anyway, so let's go ahead and close it off. Let's go ahead and close the NBA off with those final thoughts that we had there. Unless there's something else you guys want to bring up. Is there anything else you got to say, E?
Not really.
Okay, how about you, Amos?
No, I mean, if unless we talk about, I guess, yeah, we can wait till next week to do our predictions for next matchups. I
For the
don't
next
think
round, yeah. Well, we got to see who's going to be, because Memphis could have a turnaround and win 3 games in a row. And
that's my question for you guys. I'm down to move to football. I want to ask you two basketball question though, and then we can move on.
Okay.
And I'm not even being funny, Efren.
Yeah.
I assume I know Efren's answer, and it's all good. No argument. Of the teams still in the NBA that are down, so whether it's Memphis, whether it's the Bucks, who do you guys feel most strong about coming back and winning the series? Only pick one team that you feel the best about coming back and winning the series. And it has to be the team that's down. So maybe it's the Bucks, maybe it's the Grizzlies. Give me one team, you guys.
You want to start off this way? You want me?
I'll go. I got Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is the one team that can actually come back from the deficit that they're in, even though it's not a 2-game deficit. I think that they still have the capability without Giannis to step their game up and actually win in Miami or in Milwaukee, wherever, and pull that series out.
All right, so Milwaukee.
So I did have the same response about Allen. I did have Milwaukee, but just because he did it, I think I'm gonna pick somebody else. My second one, I feel like Cleveland can still make a big turnaround. It's a best. They're going back to Cleveland. They got to go to New York still after that. But I feel like Cleveland, if the coach makes the right decisions, we've seen Tom Thibodeau choke these type of situations before. I've seen it. He's a former Bulls coach. Not to be like in a bad way, but I feel like he could still make a mistake out there that will let Cleveland back into this series. So that's the only one that's what I was saying. I feel like Cleveland still has a shot at home coming back.
I'd agree with that.
So my question for you, because I think that Alan, your answer was good. I think, but I'd probably lean towards the Bucks too as number one. It sounded like you did too, Efren. So my question, do you have more confidence in Cleveland coming back on the Knicks than Memphis coming back on the Lakers?
Yes, just because nobody's lost for Cavaliers, no star players. They're not lost. So it's just showing their youth. Donovan Mitchell's been in the situation. You got to remember Evan Mobley's first year in the playoffs. You can have you've seen how they played in Game 2 when they blew out New York, and it was a big blowout. New York had the home court go to them. I know it. Like I said, it'll be hard, but I just feel that Cleveland has enough star power to bring them back with all the players they have. Even though they were, you guys got to remember. One thing that we're not talking about is Cleveland was a great defensive team going into the playoffs. Everybody was talking about it. They were a good defensive team. They're just lost right now because a lot of them, the Knicks players are playing their butts off. I said this earlier. Jalen Brunson is playing like why he got paid to go there, right or wrong. I just feel like the coach, Tom Thibodeau, he's been in these situations before and he's blown them before. So it's not that I'm not confident in the Knicks players. I'm not confident in the coaching of the Knicks.
Okay. What about you, Amos?
Well, no, I kind of said my answer. So yeah, I would say Milwaukee.
That's your confident one. That's
I mean that's the most obvious one.
yes.
That you know what though, but it's I could still see Memphis. I mean, I know I just got an argument with Efren obviously about LeBron, and to folks out there, me and Efren will always argue about games. I mean, and Efren knows this. Like you guys will see I argue with Efren about anything. A lot of basketball stuff I won't, but then with LeBron, me and Efren will.
Other than LeBron, but that seems to be the topic of.
But with that said, I don't think it's crazy. Like, I guess I would disagree with Efren saying I think Memphis has a better chance. Now, maybe if it was 2-1 maybe if it was 2-1, I would agree with Evan as far as saying the Cavs have a better chance. But because it's, 3-1, right? I would say, Memphis having a better chance than
the Cavs.
Cleveland.
And Cleveland, yeah.
I still think Memphis is a better overall team than I'm telling y'all, I'm not trying to sound like I'm biased for LeBron. I don't think LeBron's team outside of AD and D'Lo, who knows what deal is going to show up. Now, with that said, I do admit, and that's why I was trying to say, Efren, like this series, Austin Reeves has played really well. Hachimura has played really well. So that was my point, Efren. I was just more trying to hype up LeBron. But I can admit this series, those guys have played really well. I don't have a lot of faith in them, though, you know what I'm saying, to keep doing it. And so that's why I kind of think Memphis has a better chance. Maybe, no, not maybe. That's probably why I think Memphis has a better chance at back on the Lakers than Cleveland versus the Knicks. But that's all. I guess that's the last thing I got to say about NBA. What about you, Efren?
Like I said, that was everything. You are correct about, I just feel like when we first talked about this series, about the Memphis Lakers series, yeah, I picked Memphis, remember, to go to sweep. But the thing that's showing me is I feel like these are better matchups for the LA with Memphis right now than Cleveland against New York. That's why I'm also, like I said, and it's the coaching. The coach from Memphis hasn't not found a way to beat these teams like LA or Golden State. What have they both done? Like, remember last year what happened with Memphis and Golden State? Everybody said Memphis this and that, and then what happened? Golden State went in there and took did what they had to do. But at the same time, like I said, these guys are playing good. The backup, not the back, but Hachimura and Reeves are playing good. They're playing the matchup that they're supposed to be playing, and that's what's helping LA a lot. AD, yeah, he's playing good, but he's not playing at his full potential that I think he can play at. But like I said, that's why I feel like Cleveland, young team, they go back to Cleveland, they win a game there. I feel that they can come back to New York and make it a Game 7. We all said Game 7, right? A lot of us said Game 7, New York. Game 7. If Cleveland can make
Cleveland, it would be in Cleveland.
They'll be in Cleveland. So that's why I said I feel like that's the home court advantage for them.
But they got it. But they got to steal one in New York to get back there, man. And I like the fact that you're saying that, because I've been on the Cleveland bandwagon all year myself. I think that and I said this before before the All-Star break is that for a team that young, all it takes is for them to to have one game. It's a one game situation where it could turn things around for them. And if they can knock off New York in New York, that might be the catalyst to take them into the next couple of series too. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you. I got one question for you though, E, and it has to do with Phoenix. And I'm having some doubts about them myself because of the fact that they're only playing 5 guys right now. Can they withstand the pressures of 7-game series each and every series with only 5-6 guys playing?
So looking at that, I know we haven't talked about it. I'm glad you brought it up. They are only playing 5 guys. It's going to be hard. I'm glad that they're getting through the series how they're getting. They have to win tomorrow. Because if they cannot go into they cannot let Denver rest and then them go into that series tired with only 5 guys. So you need them to win. That's the way I see Phoenix. They could do it just because, but look how much. The good thing that I like is that, remember, Kevin Durant didn't play the whole season, so they can play as much minutes as he needs to in this series. So,
and no, he even brought that out in the press conference the day before yesterday. He said, "I haven't played all year."
Well, play, though.
I got fresh legs, but not everybody is in that situation on that team. And
that's the thing that's going to hurt him, I believe. But
and it's really weird too, because I would have thought that Monty Williams would have been able to figure out some kind of a rotation just to save those guys a little bit, even if he doesn't have the talent that he had before the trade.
Well, the bad thing is, I feel the bad. Sorry, Amos Ferrandro. I think the bad thing is
Sorry.
what happened was they lost their backup point guard, Payne. He's been hurt, and
Yeah.
Chris Paul's been playing more minutes than he's supposed to. But I feel like Chris
Is Payne
Paul
out?
right now. But I feel Chris Paul right now. This is his last run at it. He knows this is his last run at it. You understand? So he's not
Yeah.
taking no excuses at it. And
No, I completely agree with you
and then,
there.
and then Aiton has been playing at a at a whole different aspect in this playoffs. Like he's wanting the ball. He's wanting to play. He's doing what he has to do. And like I
But you
said,
know what though, he was doing that in those first 6-7 games when KD, started when he actually, stepped on the court for them.
yeah,
His game elevated at that point, and he's doing the same thing in this series.
yeah. And then same thing with Devin Booker. They're double teaming Durant, so Durant's just saying, "Here, take us home." And if you
Yeah,
can't take us
no
home,
doubt about that.
you'll find a way.
No
So
doubt about
I
that.
feel they still, but like you said, can they get all the way to the Eastern to the NBA Finals and win it? The thing that's gonna suck is that those East Coast teams like Boston are gonna have 7 or 8 guys, 9 guys
Yep.
that can play the whole game. And if Monty Williams doesn't find a way to rotate his players going into the NBA Finals, I see another thing that happened in Milwaukee. I see them not being able to beat one of these East Coast teams. But to me, right now, I just don't see nobody keeping up with Phoenix. After Kawhi left the first game, you've seen what they've done the last 3 games. You guys have seen. Phoenix is playing at we need to win. We need to play. Durant takes over when he has to.
But the thing that I would have to counter that with is that the strength of the Western Conference, the only team that I could put on that same level with Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia is Denver on that side of the bracket. If they do make it to the final, it's going to be tough for them to win with a 5-6 man rotation. There's just no way around that because all three of the teams in the East have 8-9 guys playing.
And
True.
I've been trying to jump in, and I've been kind of trying to jump in and say it too. So like I'm looking at these stats, and like to me, this team right here, this playoff Suns are the definition of KD's career, other than Golden State. Right? You have top heavy guys and not a lot of depth. And I go back to whether it was OKC with him in Westbrook, and then you'd hope that Ibaka, right, Ibaka could give you a little bit of scoring. Obviously this was when James Harden was gone. But they never necessarily had a great bench. And then you go back to obviously Brooklyn, right? You trade all your pieces, so you have no depth, and so you just have enough but top heavy talent. And so same situation with the Suns, right? You traded all your depth, you have nothing but top level talent, and so it's why to me when KD's on a team, a playoff team, it's always so tempting to pick his team, right? Because KD's a monster. He's always a top 3 guy, top 5 guy when he's healthy. And then you look at who he's playing with, since he's always basically been playing with someone really elite. And Devin Booker is elite. He's one of the best scorers in the league. And then I'm like you guys said it before me. I'm looking at the stats. Yeah, they have Torrey Craig doing really well, probably playing above himself. They have Ayton doing his thing, 14.8. You probably want Ayton to be a little bit more aggressive. If you're expecting him to go far, I don't think 14.8 is going to cut it. But yeah, Chris Paul is doing solid. He's averaging 13.3. But yeah, after that, it's just a huge crash down. There's just, like you guys said, that no one's really contributing. And so what happens if KD gets a little bit nick? What happens if Chris Paul, who, oh man, I think we've all kind of been waiting for Chris Paul just to fall off, and it hasn't really happened, but he's also regressed slightly. And so to your point, Efren, with them losing Payne, he's playing 39 minutes a game. That's a lot of minutes to play, And I get nervous. You have to go to Denver, and play in at the altitude, And Denver, they have a lot more depth than the Suns, and so I don't want to pick my winner just yet. We'll get to that next week, But I'll just say it's tempting. It's always tempting to pick the Suns because KD and Devin Booker are just superstars, and I can't really see a duo in Denver keeping up with them. On the flip side, Denver has a way better depth, and they have the home court advantage, which I think is a big deal.
And they have youth too. I mean, that team is young. even though they've got, multiple years of playoff experience. That's a young team.
One team, they have experience playing together, though. They played a lot of games together.
They really do. I think that's one of the biggest differences that I would say about the Phoenix team over previous teams like OKC and Brooklyn is for KD. He doesn't have that. There's not that one nut job on the team. I mean, he played with crazy in OKC with Westbrook. He played with crazy in Brooklyn with Kyrie. He doesn't really have that crazy in Phoenix.
Draymond.
Which, he didn't have it. He had it with Draymond, but I mean, Clay and Steph made were solid. They negated his craziness, for him. But now he doesn't have that. He doesn't have that craziness.
He is crazy on that team.
I feel like
he would be the crazy on that team. You're right.
At the end of the day, you made good points, Amos, about the Denver altitude and everything. I respect you for that and about saying that and everything. I just feel like Phoenix going into that series. That's why I told Alan. I feel like they have to beat LA tomorrow.
Don't. Hold on, I was gonna say don't give too much details though, only because I think we should do a what am I trying to say, like an episode where we do our predictions. You know what I'm saying? So don't give too much of your predictions for that series until later on. That's all.
No, I just feel like that will be a great series. At the end of the day, it'll come down to will Payne be back? That will be the main thing. Will Payne be back? Because that will change the whole thing about that series, because then they'll have a backup point guard that can play that series.
Because to that point, Efren, man, Jamal Murray, I'm not sure if you've seen what he's been doing. He's playing really well, man. And so you're right.
So has Porter. Porter's been playing really well too. And even Aaron Gordon is contributing in ways that.
And if you guys remember, Aaron Gordon was having to be the second option last year, so now that he's the fourth or fifth option this year, it's completely different. So you
can see it in his game. He's way more relaxed now.
Okay, so now I know we're talking about this. I know I don't want to waste time, but we gotta go. We gotta move on to the NFL.
Yeah,
guys.
we gotta make it happen here because we only got about an hour and a half.
We're gonna go right there. Sorry, and like I said, you guys look at us. We argue. We talk. We want your guys' opinions. So please subscribe. Hit that like button. Let us know in your comments. Maybe me and Amos are wrong. Maybe you guys can tell somebody else, is doing something. Let us know. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Just let us know in the comments. Put something there. Let us know. But now go ahead, Alan. Move us on to the NFL. I know we just had the NFL Combine. We're coming up on the draft. Talk to us. Let us know what you think. Alan?
Well, I was actually going to leave it open for you guys mostly. I just mostly had questions about it, as far as that. I mean, I think some of the biggest takeaways for me from the Combine were quarterbacks. One being, your guy, Young from Alabama, he didn't really do much at the Combine. I think all he did was interview, and he seems to be the hands down favorite to go number one in the draft. And I'm still trying to figure it out myself. I mean, I understand that he's done it at every level that he's played at, but he's never played at the NFL level. And I think it's gonna catch up to him, just like it caught up to Tua Tagovailoa too.
Oh, one thing. So one thing. Sorry for interrupting. So one thing about Bryce Young, I've been watching him play since high school. He is from Mater Dei High School. He played at Mater Dei in California, the number one team in the nation, high school football. So he took his team to Texas. He took his team to Florida, played against the IMG Academy, stuff like that. Dominated. The only loss his senior year was to St. Bosco, another California school. And Alabama. Remember, what do they call SEC football? Little NFL. So you see, there's a lot of talent in the SEC. I know he's small.
Most of it's at Alabama, though.
True.
Most of the talent in the SEC is at Alabama.
True. And at Georgia.
I don't
Well,
know.
Last
I-
couple of
Georgia.
years.
I don't know. I would say this is probably the worst time to say that statement, though, Alan, because you got to remember Alabama hasn't won the national championship the last 2 years. Yeah, they've been really good still, but Georgia has had the best roster. On top
Georgia,
of, let's not forget,
LSU has had a good
LSU.
roster.
And what about Tennessee, who came back and now they're recruiting at an extremely high level? So at the end of the day, the SEC schools, yeah, Bama might still have the most talent, them or Georgia, but SEC, it's like Florida is recruiting at an elite level still. So Texas A&M, right? Remember, Texas A&M had the best recruiting class ever in scouting classes history like 3 years ago. So it's just nothing talent.
What'd that get them, though, Amos? What'd that get them? It didn't really get them much, did it? I mean, A&M has been irrelevant pretty much. You know,
Yeah,
Florida is, like you said, Florida's had some good talent, but they haven't won any games. It doesn't help them win any games.
Let me say this about A&M.
Tennessee played really well last year, but where they've been, prior to that.
Hold on.
Okay, but talk about
the team that's actually been, there. LSU has been consistent over the time periods, but
pretty good the year before. And listen, but I'm just saying we're talking about talent. So like Tennessee had well, we're talking about last year, right? And that happened last year. Tennessee last year talented. Florida, that's not. They've always had talent. They just don't coaching. So guy from Mississippi State, I forget his name, Don, something like that. He got fired. They hired. What? How do you say his name?
Muschamp.
Yeah. So he got let go, and then they went to the guy from Louisiana.
Kiffin, wasn't it?
No, Kiffin's with Ole Miss, who's been killing too.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm just saying they have a lot of tech. Florida.
It was the guy from Washington State, wasn't it? That was there.
No, he was at
Mississippi
State.
Mississippi State.
Mark Leach was at Mississippi State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you got to remember, and like you said, one thing that I've been looking at, SEC schools, Tennessee, one thing you got to remember is 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they had a high school football coach. That was, high school football coach. The Rockets, read that right now. We have a chat, Amos. Breaking news about the coach from Boston. The Tennessee Volunteers 2 years ago had a high school football coach coaching them. This new coach
but did that coach win a bunch of state championships too, though?
Yeah, but
he was acclaimed as a coach.
Yeah, but not coming in his first year, and then they didn't give you that big of an opportunity.
All those guys got to start somewhere, though. I mean, they all. I mean, even Saban started in high school.
Yeah, and then like I said, it keeps on going. Yeah.
Efren, just for accuracy. So Muschamp got fired a while back. He actually went. I think after that he went to South Carolina. I want to say, don't quote me. And then there, but it was that the guy I was thinking of was actually Dan Mullen, and he was. I want to say he was. He got. Then they recruited really well, but he just couldn't coach really. And then they got smacked, and then he left, and then they got like a top 5 coach, and like they get the.
So I understand why.
He's there now.
Where at?
Give me a second.
I'm
trying to figure out. Head coach. Bill, that's what his name. Billy Napier. That's what it is. He's the coach.
Napier, that's right.
So going back to the draft and him being at the combine, Bryce being. Also, the other thing that people got to remember: how many Ohio State quarterbacks, just like Bama quarterbacks, have come out to the NFL and succeeded?
Art Schlichter.
I have more faith than you. I have more faith than you to predicting a top. Oh wait, never mind. They bring out Ryan Leaf. Never mind about that. Never mind. No, but like I said, I understand the quarterback way. Everybody knows it's going to be quarterbacks. Top 4 at least. Top 4 teams take quarterbacks this year, I believe. The quarterback situation this year, there's a lot of depth at quarterback this year.
There is a lot of depth at quarterback, but have you been watching any of the news? Have you been watching any of the stuff that's going on? NFL Network?
A little bit, not that much.
CJ Stroud is his stock is dropping
Why?
considerably. They're talking about him going 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th
Why?
now because these teams are, I guess, they're starting to feel the pressure of what you were saying. Ohio State quarterbacks just don't make it in the league.
No, so let me jump in real quick. So this is the situation. So Bryce Young is the best player in the draft. He's the best QB in the draft.
No, he's not. Oh, he's the best QB in the draft, but he's not the
QB.
best player in the
Not
draft.
the best player, best QB.
So he's, and I'm gonna tell you guys why. Accuracy, the fact that the way that he gets out of the pocket, he can scramble. His long ball, his deep throw is elite, and he can adjust the plays on the line of scrimmage. So he's just really good. Also, remember Scott Fitterer, GM for the Panthers, were with the Seahawks when they drafted Russell Wilson. So he's the best QB. His only issue is not even necessarily his height; it's his slight frame, because he's about 6 foot, and he only had they said he only had 2 batted balls behind the line of scrimmage this past season. Russell Wilson had 3.
That kid is not 6 foot, bro. They're lying to you.
I hear you. He's probably like 5'11". That's fine. That's fair. But I'm just saying though. So at the end of the day, that's why they have him at. And
I thought it was 5'10" and some change, bro.
Yeah,
the tree says like this big.
So number 2. So, but that's the thing though. He's the only QB in this class that has a ceiling as a top 5 QB. And I think that. Oh, sorry. And of course, Anthony Richardson, right? But Anthony Richardson, his floor is a lot lower, and he's not even the guarantee as a young, right? And so if those 2 guys are your highest ceilings, they're technically the only guys worth the high pick. And so they're going with Young at number 1. Number 2, that leaves them with either Anthony Richardson, who's very inconsistent. His accuracy leaves a lot to be desired. He only played 13 career games in college, only 13. So that's not nearly enough, And
Dan Orlovsky, he refuted that notion that you're just saying that he wasn't accurate. He refuted that today. He showed just in one game that there were like 9 drop passes by his receivers. Drop passes that hit him in the hands and should have been catches.
Yep.
So
I've heard that, and I've watched a lot of Richardson's tape. And you can say that with a lot of players, though, a lot of QBs. And yeah, you can always argue, well, hey, this team had more drops, and that's fine. I'm not saying his receivers weren't very talented, and he did have drops. But I also saw him buckle under pressure. I've also saw him get blitzed and just throw the ball completely up there and just hope it go to the receiver, and then it got intercepted. So he makes a lot of bad reads. And at the end of the day, numbers are numbers, So yeah, you're right. There's always context, Alan. You are right. There's always context. But when you're actually almost 50%, and you're telling me you're supposed to be a top 2-3 QB, and you've only played 13 games ever, no, it's not for me personally, And so it's why the Texans are now leaning towards Will Anderson.
I would agree with you.
Yeah,
I would agree with you.
Towards Will Anderson Jr., who probably is the best player in the draft, him or Bijan Robinson. So the Texans are going to go Will Anderson Jr., who's a for sure thing. Number 3 would leave. I take that back. Sounds like the Texans are actually going to go with Tyree Wilson. He's a 6'6", 6'7" monster, Texas. If I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen him, extremely strong.
He's got big numbers.
But if he figures it out, he had 7.5 sacks his senior year. But if he figures it out, he's going to be a monster. So they actually sounds like they say about 70% of teams have Will Anderson Jr. over Tyree. 30% have Tyree. Will Anderson Jr. was way better of a player in college, but Tyree has
different position.
And so
he's
an inside guy, isn't he?
Yeah. No. So they're similar in the sense that they both rush the passer, and Tyree, he's more of a defensive end, right? And he can also be inside as well. Whereas Will Anderson, he's strictly a stand-up passing outside linebacker. But at the end of the day, they're both pass rushers. You know what I'm saying? That's their primary position.
So I have 2 questions for you guys for the draft. And there's me.
Yeah.
My first question is going to be for both of your teams. You're a Green Bay Packers fan, Alan. You're a Seattle Seahawks fan, Amos. My first question to y'all is, who do you believe your team will draft or has an eye on, or what you guys need in this draft?
Coming
What's the
out of the
first pick
combine.
coming out of the combine? That's my first question.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can
Well,
answer Amos. I'll go with Amos first. 'Cause I know you guys were on a trade today, Alan, with Aaron Rodgers going to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, and you guys giving up the 13th pick or trading it. I don't know how that
Yeah, they
works.
swapped picks, 13 for 15.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to, because I know right now, Amos, his team is set from what I know, where the draft picks are at. Talk to me, Amos. What do you guys
So
need? Who do you think?
So piggybacking kind of what I was saying earlier, though. So Bryce Young, assuming Bryce Young is going to be number one, sounds like he's going to be. Tyree Wilson is trending on number 2 pick. Again, it sounds like the Texans, who have been going with QB this whole time, are going to backpedal and maybe go QB at number 12. And so, assuming they go Tyree Wilson at 2, Cardinals would probably go Will Anderson Jr. at 3, who is my favorite prospect in this class. That would leave the Colts with a QB to pick. It sounds like they're going to go with Will Levis over CJ Stroud. Kind of to Alan's point, he is kind of dipping a little bit, and I actually like Stroud better than Levis. Whereas I know Efren's a big Levis fan. He's just, to me, his ceiling is probably higher, but I think he's more riskier than Stroud. So with that said, that's 2 QBs in the top 4. And that's 2 pass rushers in the top 4. So that would leave the Seahawks with number 5 pick. The best player in the draft at that point is probably Jalen Carter. Now, he's a big risk. We've all seen, you've probably already heard, he has a lot of outside distractions. He was unfortunately involved in a crash that left a teammate and a support staff dead. He's also had other small little fraction like speeding tickets. And then you just heard he's very immature as well. So I've also heard he's not a chief. He's an Indian, basically, is what I've heard. That's the phrase I've heard. So with that said, he needs a lot of guidance. But from a pure talent standpoint, he's as close as Will Anderson Jr. as it gets. In fact, he might be even more talented. It's just you have to have veteran guys like a Bobby Wagner who you brought in to keep him on track. And so with that said, guys, I'll keep this brief real quick. Honestly, I probably have to go Jalen Carter, assuming those 2 pass rushers are gone. I don't love any of the QBs at 5. I just think it's too early. If you're picking a QB at 5, I want to have a guy who I think is going to have elite potential. And at 5, with who's left, I don't necessarily see it. And I think Geno Smith, while he's not elite, he's certainly not great per se. I think you can win with Geno if you have a good roster. And so get that defense better. We need front help. We need front 7 help so bad. And Jalen Carter is by far the best defensive tackle in the draft. It's not even close. And so, yeah, I'd have to go Jalen Carter at number 5 for the Seahawks, assuming those first 4 guys are drafted. So give me Jalen Carter for the Seahawks at number 5.
Okay, nice pick. What about
That
you,
is a
Alan?
good pick, and I think even Carroll said something about that a couple of days ago. As far as bringing, he goes, if nobody wants him, we'll take him. We'll put him on the field and make a better man out of him.
Yeah, I actually think they low key want Tyree Wilson, if I had to guess, for their scheme, because Tyree Wilson, if you guys remember Michael Bennett, Tyree Wilson is basically a Michael Bennett clone, but he's way bigger. He's a guy who again is going to be on the outside, who you can also put on the inside. And the Seahawks have some solid pass rushers on the outside, but they don't have anybody in the roster that can do outside and inside. And I just think Tyree Wilson, he's a coach's dream, but he's just not as ready as a Will Anderson Jr. He's not as technical just yet. He's pretty raw, but I do think Tyree Wilson, who again I think is going to go number 2 or number 3. If I had to guess, I think the Seahawks like him and Will Anderson the best. Those 2, and then probably Jalen Carter. But yeah, sorry, Alan. Go ahead. What do you think for your Packers, who, like we said, they went from the 15th pick to the 13th pick because of that trade?
Well, I don't see the Packers making a big splash on any of the positions that I would like to see them, pick up. I think they definitely probably need a tight end, and there's a couple of really good ones in the draft this year. But they also probably going to need some help for Love too, and that would be at the receiver side of it also. So I'm not sure if Smith and Jigba would be the pick for them. Although I think that he's probably the one guy that is going to play the middle of the field, and that would be a good thing for Love, Jordan Love. But I don't know if they're gonna pull the trigger on something like that. Before the trade discussions with Aaron Rodgers, they were talking about bringing in a tight end for him, just for Aaron Rodgers. I would love to see them do something like that, but I really don't know. I mean, that particular pick is known for the offensive line, and that's one thing that they would definitely spend a first round pick on, because they've done it multiple times in the past 30 years. So I really don't know. I would love for them to take the best guy that's out there with the 13th pick. I don't care who it is, if it's a defensive player or an offensive player, but I would love for them to take the best guy. I'm not going to really throw any names out there. I think Myers is probably the top tight end guy from Notre Dame, although there's another kid too. I can't remember.
Kincaid from Utah.
Yeah, the kid from Utah. What's his name?
Austin Kincaid.
Kincaid, that's it.
So Myers is more of like the blocker. He's that guy who's the best blocker in the draft. He can also catch. Whereas Kincaid is like the Jimmy Graham type. He's the guy who can catch everything. He can fly. He's gonna, go the same. And I will say, Alan, real quick, and you keep talking, Alan, but I will say, just to jump on what you said, this tight end class is one of the deepest tight end classes they've had in probably a decade.
There's a lot of guys in this draft.
Flip side is
guys.
The receiver class is probably the worst class we've seen in a while. Now, the one guy you did say, Alan, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he is that guy. He's really good. And it's funny because the reason I say that is because ask scouts, you guys, they'll tell you that Jackson Smith and Jigba would probably be their sixth best receiver if he was in last year's class. That's how deep you guys know this, right? Because we had four receivers that went top 12 last year. So
and a couple of them were at Alabama, right?
Yeah, Jameson who went to the Lions, who got hurt, right? He didn't play.
Yep.
He was with them. So
and got suspended this year. And is
yeah, and they
that's right, he did, didn't he?
Said that he would actually be one spot ahead of Jackson Smith and Jigba. Now, Jigba's special because he's a slot guy and he just gets open. And he was arguably the best receiver with the guys Olave, and who was the other kid, Efren, that went on number 10 at the 10th pick for the Jets? Do you know, Alan?
Oh, Garrett.
He was the 10th pick.
Garrett
Wilson.
Yeah, Garrett. Wasn't he? He was the offensive rookie of the year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And those are better prospects because they're outside guys, but they said that Njigba was arguably the best on that team his last or with those guys, you know what I'm saying? So with that said, it's not a great group, but Jigba would be that guy, Alan. And if you guys, he'd be the one receiver if you guys did decide to take that early. I would like it for you guys. He'd be really good.
Yeah.
I'd also say, I think a tackle, like you said, would be good. Someone like Paris Johnson Jr., a scorer, Oski from Northwestern. I don't know. How do you say his name? Bakatari. I knew I was going to. Guy from Colorado.
Bakhtari, yeah.
Left tackle. He's been really good with you guys, but he seems like he's always hurt nowadays, right?
Yeah, he does seem to be on the IR quite a bit.
Yeah, so I can see him maybe.
No doubt about that. Yeah, like I said, that pick, that particular pick is usually reserved for offensive linemen. So they're notorious for taking offensive linemen. So I can't really see them helping. Getting help for the quarterback of the future for them. I mean, if they're really intent on this kid being the future for them, they're going to have to get him some weapons. I think they don't have to really worry about much on behind him. I think they have a solid running game. Even though Jones was never somebody that I was always never too confident in, but he's had a really good career for them. I think Dylan is the one that's going to be the guy to carry that mantra on, in the future. But can he take a pounding like he's done over the last couple of years with that team? So I don't know. Like I said, I can't really throw any names out there because I don't know, what they're going to do. Like you said, there's a couple of guys on the offensive line. Like you said, the kid from, was it Wake Forest?
Northwestern.
No, from
Northwestern,
yeah.
Skoronski. Yeah, he's good. There's another kid from Michigan, Hayes, and the kid from TCU, Vila, is getting a lot of talk right now too.
So he's probably going to be. No, he's really good. He's going to be like he's more of like a second round guy, and that's just purely because he's an inside guy.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
center.
But you know what? I could see them taking somebody like that. But there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, there's a couple of kids from Oregon. There's a couple kids from Michigan. Baylor has a couple of guys too. And what's this dude? He had a pretty good time in the 40 for Washington. Benevalu.
Henry Benevello, yeah. And so Washington's going to have a lot of prospects next year's class, and that's why they're going to be a top 10, top 12 team. Oh, yeah, Efren. Thank you to Fresno State head coach DeBoer. But anyway, he was able to keep a lot of those guys to come back, and so that's why they don't have a lot of great prospects this year. This year, they only have nothing but like 6th, 7th rounders, if that, yeah.
Okay,
you know what? I mean, there's been a lot of guys that come out of the 5th, 6th, and 7th round that actually have have had significant stays in the league. So
sure.
Good.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be for the Packers and me. It's going to be really interesting. I still think that we're going to be rebuilding for a couple of years, but that would be for me. Them getting some help on the offensive side for the quarterback of the future would be the most prominent thing for them to do right now, I think.
But my question real quick, Alan, and we'll get to Efren's in a second. And you could say your opinion too, Efren, do you really believe though that the Packers are going to, I get that they made the trade, they traded for Aaron Rodgers, but do we believe that they're actually trying to rebuild? And my devil's advocate is, if you look at their division, the Lions, I think me and Efren have talked about this a lot. The Lions were probably the best team at the end of the season. But the Vikings had the best record, but it was a lot of one-score games, and they've arguably got worse over the offseason. The Bears, as Efren knows, Efren doesn't have any high hope for the Bears. And let's be real, the Bears are probably, sorry, AJ, but the Bears are probably, at least another year or two away, right? And so with that said, Alan, I don't know, man. I just feel like your Packers, man, as much as I want to talk shit because you're my boy, your Packers, man, they're a winning franchise, So do you think do you really believe that they're going to fully rebuild, or do you think they could maybe potentially be doing the Seahawks where they're trying to just get picks while also being competitive?
Well, this trade actually says a lot about what they may be, have intentions of doing is getting the best talent they can get in the draft, because I mean they picked up four picks this year alone from that trade. So I would love to say that, but just looking at the numbers and seeing what Jordan Love did when he was on the field, and he did have some moments. I give him that. He did have some moments. I think that there's no possible way you can't say that they're not in a rebuild phase. And it's more than likely, in my opinion, and this is as a fan, I think that they're probably going to be 2 or 3 years out before we see any significant, improvement on this team or progress with the team. The one thing that everybody keeps saying about is the division that they're in. But I think that Detroit, they've got a couple of first round picks this year, and they could make some noise if they take Bijan Robinson with the number 6 pick and then pick up, there's going to be somebody else at they got the 17th or the 18th pick, something like that. They could get somebody on the defensive side that can be, an impact player. That team could ride that North Division for a couple of years and not have any challenges. You're right about Minnesota, but I think that they're going to be looking at picking up a quarterback this year, because isn't Cousins is at the end of his contract.
So Alan, you want to know my prediction? Is like you said, Cousins is about 35. My prediction is actually that Minnesota picks my boy Hendon Hooker at the end of the first round, and I think he could be sit under him for 1 year, and the following year take over. So I actually do like that call. I think Cousins will probably play for him 1 more year. But if I could just add one more thing, and great some of our stats saying, yeah, Detroit, that's good. That's a good point. Like I said, and that's why I think me and Efren are so high on Detroit going into the season too. They played so good at the end of the year last year, and they have those 2 top picks, like you said. I'll just add, I do think Detroit is looking at Jalen Carter. So if the Seahawks don't pick Jalen Carter, I really believe Detroit will take Jalen Carter if they don't take him.
No, you could be right about that, but I think that they could. I think that what they do need is a running back, and that would be a big splash for them, man. Big splash for them.
So they have. So the thing with them and their running backs though is they signed. What's the guy from Bears? Efren?
David Montgomery.
Montgomery, who's not like great, but he's good. He's a good starting running back. And then they had the guy that Kent State.
So one thing I can tell you this, you guys got to remember, David Montgomery was running for 1,000 yards.
Oh, you're higher
behind that offense they had in Chicago. So I'm feeling that he could do a big impact. Even if they pick up Bijan, I would like that because they could have both of them and they could use half and half. That would be a good pickup for them.
So you're not wrong, and I like that. You've always been higher than me, right? Yeah. But I'm just saying, I agree. Montgomery's a good back. He's a good back though. But my question, and I'm based on his name, who was their starting running back that got hurt last year? He's always getting hurt though. Swift. He's talented, but he just can't.
Swift.
What?
Swift.
DeAndre Swift. Yeah.
So I guess my question then for you guys to play devil's advocate is, if you're the Lions, wouldn't you almost? I agree with you guys. Bijan Robinson is a superstar, but I have issues drafting a running back.
That high. Yeah.
And even a first round pick. I mean, now Bijan's different. I would draft Bijan 15 or higher, sure, because I just think he's a superstar. But normally, I don't even want to draft a running back in the first round. So my question for you guys is, could you guys live with? I mean, Efren, you're really high on Montgomery. Couldn't you live with Montgomery as your main guy, and then Swift as worst case backup / change of pace, and then focus on the defense, or would you be more tempted to maybe go Bijan at number 18, and then you have maybe a 3-headed monster back?
So this is my answer to that. On the Lions, I'm not satisfied, but I'm okay with Deontay Swift and David Montgomery. You stepped up your run game. Watson was good, but now you picked a running back that can catch out of the backfield. Both running backs can catch out of the backfield now. So I'm okay with Bijan going past me and helping out my defense. Remember, who gave up the most points last year on defense most of the time was the Lions. Go pick up a corner. Go pick up a safety that's going to make a big impact this year. You understand?
You're right. You're right. It's going to be, and that's the thing. If they don't get Jalen Carter, it's probably going to be a corner. You're right. It's probably going to be with.
Why couldn't you take Bijan and then you can trade? You can trade one of those other two or even both of them.
You're not going to trade Montgomery. You just
signed Montgomery this year, and DeAndre Swift. I don't think you'll get that much for him because of his injuries.
Yeah, but and that's my thing is that you got Montgomery, but how what's your level of confidence in Swift being available and staying healthy?
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying in that situation, but you got to remember one thing I do is I know that David Montgomery can stay healthy and do both. That Deontay Swift can, just in case they do lose Deontay Swift, you still have a good running back that's going to be able to play all 3 downs like you did in Chicago.
Yeah, but if it's just him alone, you run the risk of wearing him out too by the time the playoffs go around.
But you also have what's the other running back's name? They had another running back, not the one that got traded, but they had another one that was playing side by side with what's the name at the end of the year, with the running back that just went to New Orleans.
Jamal Williams.
Yeah. There was another running back that was playing back there with them.
I couldn't think of it. But I also I'd also say it's one thing to worry about one running back. When we're worrying about two running backs getting hurt, though, that's a little too much, though, you guys. And so that's why I think if you have Montgomery, that's why you can risk having what's his face Swift still because you have Montgomery.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, let's be guys, if any team's onto their third running back anyways, right? You're probably gonna be screwed. So I mean, it just is what it is. At some point, though, you have to worry about your first starters. You know what I'm saying? Not your.
And that's just me with the Lions right now.
I don't think Robinson is going to last because Philadelphia. They're talking about Philadelphia taking him, and when do they pick? 10th.
I don't see Alan. I don't think Philly takes him, but that is where you start hearing his name, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're right in this that Philly could take him. Though,
Dallas, honestly.
So you got Greg Bell, Jamar Jefferson, Craig Reynolds.
But I could see
Jason
Reynolds.
You talking about Reynolds?
Yeah, Reynolds.
Craig Reynolds.
Yeah, he was a good. Okay. He was a good backup for Jamal Williams when what's name went out.
Okay.
But like I said,
well, they do have some guys that you can throw at you. That's for sure. They got three running backs and then one fullback too.
Yeah. So they're not.
And you know what, you guys? I'm not sure if. I'm not even sure if Bijan passes. I'm telling you guys, I'm not sure if Bijan passes the Chargers, man. And I'll tell you guys why.
Yeah.
We talked about this off air, but their running back, Eckler, right? Elite out the back as far as catching it, but he's not that guy that's inside out. Yeah, going inside. And so they need a guy, a 3-down back who's going to be, you can give him the ball, red zone, and you don't have to worry about it. You can give him the ball on your own 1 yard line, and he's going to go through the line and get you that 1 to 2 extra yards of buffer. And so someone like the Chargers, let's also be real, guys. How often have we talked about the Chargers? How often have the Chargers kind of had that stigma of being a finesse team, right? Even with Philip Rivers, they've always had.
The Chargers don't pick until late in the first round, though, bro. They don't pick until number 21.
That's what I'm saying. The Cowboys will get him before. The Cowboys will go for him.
And Jared was joking about trading up today when they were interviewing him on the fan this morning. They actually even had video of it, and he was joking about trading up. So
crazy, but I'm just saying. But I'm saying, if you think he won't even make it to 21, at least name me some teams. Then who do you think would take him? Then I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm not saying like
Tennessee can take him if they're trying to get rid of
Philadelphia, Tennessee, Houston has 2 picks in the first 12.
Houston, I could maybe see Houston. Let me just. I'm looking at it right now. Eagles, Houston, possibly.
Washington.
Houston, I doubt it. Let me say this a little bit. So
2 picks in the first 18.
What? Who?
Washington has, Detroit has 2 picks in the first 18 picks.
No, yeah, maybe Detroit. Again, maybe Detroit at 18, maybe Tampa at 19. But other than that, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Chargers, exactly. Yeah, Chargers. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I could see him, but I don't see him lasting that long, man. To be honest with you, because. Both McShay and what's his face have him going to Philadelphia at number 10.
That's a lot of I don't know.
But didn't they just go?
I don't think so. Todd. That might have been his early one. They do these mock drafts every. Trust me, Alan. I promise you guys.
Yeah, I know they do them like three times a week. So
okay, so
I subscribe to people. Let me just say this real quick. I get that you can make an argument that some of these teams might need him and he's a superstar. I get it. But I'm just saying these teams, they all need something else too as well, though. Like Tennessee Titans, for example. Yeah, we're talking about maybe needing a running back, but they don't need a running back. They still have Derrick Henry. But you know what they really need, guys? They need a QB. They have no QB.
They do need a QB.
The offensive line.
I they would have traded up, man, to be honest with you. I would have thought they would have been looking to trade up.
So, Alan,
they said they have not received no calls for Derrick Henry. But by right now, so I'm like, what the heck?
But to that point, Alan, I've heard people talk about Tennessee perhaps trading up with the Seahawks because, again, if I'm being honest with you, I think the Seahawks want one of those 3 defensive studs. But I also know the Seahawks probably trade back as well. And to your point, Tennessee needs a QB bad, and so I've actually seen some mocks where the Seahawks trade back to Tennessee. Tennessee gets their elite QB. Go ahead, Efren.
Okay, so I know we've been talking about this. I know you guys asked me. My only prediction for us is, I know if we don't get Bijan, we're going for a tight end. The Myers kid that you were talking about, the Myers kid is a big hopeful in the first round for us, but we don't really pick in the first round tight ends. We're going to be really reaching. They're letting Mike McCarthy pick that position in the first round. That they were talking about. It is going to be an offensive player. They were talking about that, so it should be an offensive player. So if Bijan 5 does come down to us, I'll be happy. That tight end from Notre Dame is a good tight end too. I feel like he'll be another good tight end that you guys see how we use our tight ends and how big he is. 6'4", 6 foot something, right?
Yeah,
Big
he's
tight
a big guy.
And Efren, I'm telling you, I don't really love tight ends in the first round. I kind of think of them like running backs, but I'm telling you, where you guys are though at number 26, you guys are in a perfect spot to get. I'm telling you, you guys are in a perfect spot to get either the best tight end or the second best tight end in the draft.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, to our viewers out here, hold on, I'm sorry, Efren, just 2 more seconds. To our viewers that don't know, they say by the time you guys get to about 20 and later, they say there's really only about 15 true first rounders this year. This is how down this class is. And so, to me, if you're a 26th, there's not a lot of players that have that elite ceiling. And so, again, if you're the Cowboys, though, Efren, that tight end, Myers, like those tight ends, they do have that elite ceiling. So I'm just saying, like, I actually do kind of like that pick, even though I don't love the tight end position, because you guys can get the best. You guys can basically get a top 3 player potentially at number 26. You know what I'm saying?
And they've been talking about this, but also they've been talking about trading up to get somebody. I don't know who. I'm not sure if that might happen, but I'm not too sure. But that was that was for us.
Who's your second receiver right now, Efren?
So our second receiver is Brandon Cooks now.
Cooks.
That's right.
Houston. And then
that's right.
That's what we need. They put on there is an offensive line, defensive lineman, like a D tackle, or a
D tackle would be a big pickup for them. I think that they're probably going to go offensive line though. If they stay at 26,
they go offensive line.
Jerry is notorious. He's not going to. He may say he's going to take a tight end, but I think he'll wait until later on in the draft because, like you said, there are several guys in the draft. Who's the kid from Miami? That guy was pretty impressive when he was running. Running a 40.
Miami, I would say it's not. I said they don't really have an offensive lineman high Miami, but Efren, the guy
I'm talking about tight end. The kid from Miami was
tight end.
What's his name? Yeah,
Mallory or something like that. Was that his name, Mallory?
He's probably like a mid guy, but no, Efren.
Yeah,
Mozzie Smith. I've seen Mozzie Smith mocked to the Cowboys a lot. Actually, you said something about defensive tackle. Smith is probably the best nose tackle in the draft.
The guy isn't he from Maryland or where's he? Which was that?
He went to Michigan.
Michigan. They said at the D tackle. That's what they wanted, D tackle position. So my second question. Right. Remember, I had 2 questions for you guys. So my second question to you guys is, do you guys? I'm gonna say my sleeper in this draft. Do you guys have a sleeper? It don't matter where he lands, that is gonna make a big impact this year. Do you guys know? And watching, listening. Do you guys? I'm gonna say my sleeper right now. But do you guys have a sleeper that in this draft will make an impact their first year as soon as they get into the NFL? And my sleeper right now, I'm gonna tell you guys. You guys remember Davante Adams? Well, there's a Davante Adams part 2. He's coming out of Fresno State. Jalen Moreno, proper Moreno. I'm telling you. Look at his highlights. Look at everything that he's done. This kid is a baller. This kid can play. This kid has been doing it in high school. Trust me. Look at his highlights. He made UCLA look dumb, and I know he'll make UW look dumb. So I'm letting you know. Call the coach from UW.
What's his name?
Jalen Moreno Cropper.
Moreno Crawford. Okay.
Right. So
Proper.
yeah. I've never heard of. He's probably. I'm not saying you're wrong. Just to be clear,
Oh.
Efren. You might be right. Dog. Let me guess, Efren. He's a slot guy, right? Because this class
He's
is
an
like.
athletic. They put him as an athlete in the draft this year. He's an athlete. He can play he can play slot, outside, inside. They can put him at quarterback.
Yeah. That's why I asked, because this year, it's nothing but slot guys.
Yeah.
You have Quentin Johnson, TCU, but like all the other best receivers are all slot guys this year, and they're slot guys. So I'm not gonna lie, I haven't heard of his name. I'm not saying you're wrong. He could be pretty good. But no, he might be pretty good, and that's why I kind of figured he'd probably be a slot guy.
That's why I said sleeper. That's why I said if you guys have any sleeper, let me know.
And so let's clarify, Efren. And then that's a great question, Efren. But my question then for you is, do you want me to give you a sleeper? Like, are we talking late?
He ran a 5.90 40 at the combine, bro. He's not very fast.
That's what people think.
He's not very big either. He's only 5'11", 172.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he could be, and he, like you said, he may have a highlight reel too, but I don't know. He got an overall total score of 68 from the combine. That's pretty average.
And we're talking about Jalen Moreno Cropper, right?
Cropper, yeah, I'm looking at him right now.
Yeah, telling you, he'll make.
Okay, I guess that would be a sleeper then.
That's why I said sleeper. Go ahead. And what do you say, Davis? What's it called?
Yep. Well, no. So the question was basically just, do you want me to give you a sleeper that's like late in the draft?
Yeah,
or are we just talking like
it could be late,
or just or basically just anybody that. Okay, no, I got you. So, well, you guys knew about this for a while, but he's not even a sleeper anymore, man. I had been touting Hendon Hooker for how long? You guys knew this, man. I've been touting him since early in the season. And I said, like, man, I would love to get him for the Seahawks early in the second round pick. And then I remember, 2 months ago talking to you, Alan, right? I remember me and you were like, dude, like, they've moved this guy now to round 1. And so he's not much of a sleeper now. You're getting talk for him being round 1 nowadays. But I just think.
Hold on. But there's a big risk taking him. Because why? Go ahead and tell the audience why he's a big risk right now. What happens to him at the end of the season?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. So he's a big risk because for a few reasons, honestly. One, he tore his ACL, so that's the biggest thing. But from what I've heard and from reports, it sounds like he's killed his rehab and sounds like he's going to be ready for training camp. But any team that drafts him with the thought process of him playing, you're going to probably be sorely mistaken because you're just going to be rushing him. And so again, he's coming from an ACL tear. He'll be 25. He's either 25 now or he'll be 25 during the draft. And so again, 25, that's pretty old. Now, some people will tell you, Dan Oliver Scott, how do you say his last name?
Orlovsky.
Because, man, as you guys know, we being a podcaster now, you see these names on TV and you know about them, but the second you actually have to say their name, it's a little different. So to his point, Alan, for me, I look at 25 QB as a little old, obviously, because it is, and it makes me a little nervous. But I'll tell you, nowadays, a lot of these guys who are making the decisions, they're not as concerned about their age anymore. Because you're seeing these QBs playing into their early 30s, mid 30s. So a lot of people aren't even concerned with the age anymore. But I do think it's at least notable. So I would just say Hendon Hooker is probably my big QB sleeper. I just think he's probably the third most accurate QB in this class, behind Stroud, behind Young. I think he's just probably the third best guy as far as his accuracy. I really like him. I think his leadership is really good. But my other sleeper, I'll just say this one other one. His name is Cody Mauch, Mauch. If you Google his picture. Go ahead and Google his picture. You'll like it. He's an offensive lineman from North Dakota State.
Oh, that's the kid that had a big, what's it called? He's the kid that had a big senior game this year, right?
Yeah, he at the Senior Bowl. He killed the Senior Bowl. And he's a mauler, basically. He's a nasty guy. Now, his rear, he's not very thick down below, and it sounds talking about, but you have, as a football coach, you guys know what I'm saying. When you're an offensive lineman, especially an inside offensive lineman, you want your prospects to be very thick down below. You want their legs to be trees, and he's actually he's pretty thin. And it's because he was a tackle, but he doesn't have the length. He's not as tall as a premier tackle in the league. And so he'll probably get moved to a guard, if not a center. And so long story short, guys, he's from North Dakota State. You don't hear about players like that very often. But yeah, to Efren's point, after the Senior Bowl, which he killed, he started going from a mid-range pick to a second to a third to potentially a second-round pick. And a lot of people have him as a top 50 prospect now. And so long story short, he'll probably be a guard. But I kind of see him as more of a center in the league. I think he's actually been a center in the league. And then I'll just lastly just say this too. It's not even just about players to me. This class, again, Alan, tight ends are extremely deep. Corners, extremely deep. Like, seriously, if you guys want a starting caliber corner, you can get one as early in the third round. It's an extremely corner and tight end class this year. I also really like the centers as well. Cody Whippler from Ohio State. That's another sleeper. He's probably the third or fourth ranked center, but I think he's a second round pick, and I'd happily have him in the second round. So there's just a lot of guys, a lot of positions, certain positions I really like. And I'll just say this real quick. Again, the receivers wise, other than Jackson Smith and Jigba, I don't love the receivers this year unless you're looking for like slot guys. You can get a good slot guy, but you're not going to get that great outside guy. And then the defensive tackle class this year is pretty poor. They have nose tackles like Mozzie Smith, like I said to Efren, but after Jalen Carter, who's very risky and immature, you have a guy named Brian Brees from Clemson. He was a 5-star guy, the number 1 prospect out of high school. Yeah, you guys probably know who I'm talking about, Brian Brees. 5-star guy, 6'6", inside pass rusher. Well, he didn't have the best college career. His last year, his sister had brain cancer. So
yeah.
And so as you guys can imagine, he wasn't really there mentally, but like his ceiling is extremely high. And so
extremely high. And he's playing for something too, man.
Yep.
So he could be a big surprise.
Yeah.
A big surprise. So that's my sleeper, man.
Good.
And they have them in the late first, early second round. But I think because, as you guys know, whether it's shit like this or not, when a position isn't stacked, some teams will reach a little bit because they know if they can't get a certain guy, they gotta wait multiple rounds to even get someone decent. And so because of that, I could see Brian Brees getting taken in the first round, late first round. And like I said, if he hits, he's gonna be a monster. And like you said, Alan, he'll be playing for something. So that's the last of my sleepers.
Good. What about you, Alan?
For me, there's a couple of guys that I could see as sleepers. I'm gonna throw one at you because he's a Bruin. So I'm gonna pull it Efren on you.
I love him. I know you're gonna say I love him. Sorry, go.
The running back from UCLA, believe the first name is Zach, but Charbonneau. He's a David Montgomery all over again. He's a David Montgomery all over again. That guy can run the ball and he can catch the ball and he's got decent speed and he's fearless.
I watched that kid in high school too, Alan. That kid is the real deal. That kid is the real deal. That kid, his legs, bruh. His legs are tree trunks, bruh.
Yeah, he ain't no joke.
Old Christian or Westlake?
No.
Or that
he went to
right.
He went to
Amarillo.
Carrillo.
Was it Calabasas? I thought it was Amarillo.
No,
bro. I thought it was Old Christian. Let me look now.
I thought it was Calabasas.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right, bro. He's from Camarillo.
Yeah. I think his high school he played at Calabasas.
Oh no, Oaks Christian. That's the school that
kid.
Will Smith's kid went to.
Yeah.
And Gretzky's kids went to.
And I know this because he UW in his top 5, and I know he wanted to probably go to UW, but unfortunately someone got his ear to go to Michigan, so he ended up going to Michigan.
Right, exactly. He would probably be my first pick as a sleeper, but there's a couple of guys that I've been watching on that program, Hey Rookie.
Okay.
Welcome to the NFL.
Yep.
One of them is the receiver from Tennessee,
Oh, the
Jalen
USC
Hyatt.
transfer. The
Jalen, yeah,
USC
yeah,
transfer.
exactly. He came from USC, exactly. And then, believe it or not, Joey Porter's that played
Son.
for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
His son is a
Baller.
monster.
Joey Porter,
He just,
Bakersfield, California.
yes,
He's,
yes,
he's the
that
third or
kid
fourth.
can play,
He'll be a
and
first
they
round
got him.
or fourth ranked cornerback right now. They have in
Yeah,
the
is he the fourth rank? So he's
yeah. I mean,
probably wouldn't be considered a sleeper, but I just
No,
like
but
his mentality. The kid, the
man,
way he talks, the way he carries himself is just
his dad showed
incredible.
him. His dad showed him.
Incredible. Yep.
well, no. Alan, to your point, he's a great kid. Like literally, from what I heard, he serves food to the homeless on his
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
football, and he doesn't have to do it right. He's a first rounder, but yeah, he's doing that.
Yeah.
So to your point, he's a really good kid.
No,
Yeah.
those are
I just love the way he carries himself. And then, watching the interaction with his dad, who, nobody ever really thought too much of Joey Porter because he was kind of a hothead when he was
yeah.
playing. But he's given the kids some really, really strong advice and just words of wisdom going into this whole thing. And the coolest part about it is listening to him talk with his mother. I guess she was an athlete too. She was she ran track or something like
Yeah.
that. And she's got a lot of good things to say to him. And I was just really impressed with him, to be honest with you, because it didn't seem like there was a lot of buzz about him, in regards to like Pittsburgh or teams that you would think that would be looking at him, because his dad is a coach for the Steelers and nobody's even talking about him in Pittsburgh, to be honest with you.
Because
And
well, people, the way I look at it is they a lot of people still thought that he was going to have the same attitude as his dad had.
as dad,
Yeah. But if you actually watch
he's
him
nothing
play,
like his old man.
no,
That's for
he's
sure.
nothing like his dad, man. This kid, humble kid, man, knows what he's
Yeah,
doing.
he is.
Knows what he wants
He's
to
a
do.
total package, no doubt
And
about that.
knows.
And that's what I like about him. I think
And one
I think he'll be a big
thing you
pickup for
said
somebody.
about him talking about with his dad, one thing he said is, if you're gonna put the effort, you got to put it in from the beginning. That's what Joey Porter told his son.
Yeah.
He goes, no 50%, no 7, no. It's
You got to
100% of
go
the
full
time.
blast from day one. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said some good sleepers there, man. I consider them sleepers. You too, Amos. You came out. I hope you guys are listening to us. Subscribe. Let us know if you guys know about anybody that is gonna be in the draft that we might not know about, that can make something bigger. We're just trying to let you guys know about players that people probably don't know about. That kid from UCLA went to Michigan first, right? Then transferred to UCLA.
Yeah.
So the fact is, so people have him as either number 5 or 6 running back. Even some people have him 4. But my point is the fact that people even have him as a 6, maybe at best, running back, shows you how deep this class is, because he's an absolute stud.
Yes,
he is, and I haven't heard anything about him, man. To be honest with you, nobody's talking about him. And I was and it's really funny because yesterday when I was doing some research, I was like, there was a kid, I was thinking about the quarterback from UCLA, because he's not getting any of any either. Robinson,
DTR.
Yeah. He's not getting any talk at all either. And I was like, there was a dude that he was throwing to out of the backfield. Who was it? And then I started looking it up, and I was looking at some of his highlights, and I was like, dang, this kid is. He reminds me. He's kind of a combination of a Dylan and Jones, because he can catch the ball. He's quick, but he'll run over you if you get in front of him.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But that's good, man. So, like I said, I know we have about 30 more, right? About 20 more minutes that we're going to talk. You guys have come out with the draft, guys. You guys have gave good prospects for your teams. The draft is this Thursday. Right? Draft is this Thursday, correct?
Yeah.
And like I said, man, great picks, great knowledge of the stat wise. I know we're talking about this year's class, But imagine next year's class. You got Marvis Harrison Jr. coming out next year for the receiving class. So these receivers
Yeah,
now,
no doubt.
yeah, all these
It's going to
receivers
be
now,
heavy next year, receivers,
yeah.
no doubt.
But this year, I see a lot of talent, and hopefully these talented kids will make it somewhere. That's all I really have to say about the combine and about the draft this year. Do you guys have anything else to say?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious. Why don't you give me your rundown of the top 10 picks? Well, who do you think that they should take?
The way I'm looking at it, top five. Well,
Or maybe just go top 5, yeah.
okay, I'll do top five. Hold on.
So you got Carolina picking number 1. Who you got them taking?
Carolina, I got him taking Bryce Young.
Okay.
And come on, just to
I
be
think that's
clear,
the consensus.
do you want our top 5 who we think will be drafted or who we would? Just to be clear.
Who we would.
Yeah, who you would
Who-
take?
Yep.
So top five. So you got Carolina number 1, correct?
Yeah, Carolina's 1.
Carolina. So I'm going with Bryce Young. Very talented kid coming out of Alabama. I have seen him play. Yes, he is small, but I feel like he will make a big impact in that organization. Number 2, we got Houston, correct?
Right.
So number 2, we got Houston. Houston, I believe they don't need a quarterback. I think they could win with the quarterback they have there right now.
Okay.
I feel like they can build up the defense. So I'm looking at Will Anderson. Good defensive player. I feel he can make an impact there. Number 3, we have the Colts, correct?
Four.
Arizona.
Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona.
Arizona. That's just up for grabs for me. They lost J.J. Watt this year. I'm going with, honestly, Jalen Carter goes to them.
You're gonna go with Jalen Carter, huh?
I think he
Wow.
goes number 4. I know all this. I know I even talked about him going down and not being able to, and even though he didn't really do nothing this year big, I think they're gonna go with the best available there because they don't have it on defense.
So that was number 3?
That was number 3.
Okay. Number 4 is Indianapolis.
I'm going with the quarterback from Kentucky. He knows. He knows.
Wow.
I have the quarterback from Kentucky. I just feel like he can make I think he can start and do big things there. I really do believe they have an offensive line. People know, and he has a run game, so he'll probably be doing the same thing he did at Kentucky. Get the ball to your star running back, and then go from there. Because remember, Kentucky had Rodriguez in the backfield and was doing big things there at Kentucky. So just remember that. And number 5,
well, he probably would be the closest thing to Andrew Luck that they had. I mean, the kid's got a cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
And so did Luck.
And the last thing, my last pick, number 5. Number 5, this team from the Pacific Northwest, which I don't know, man. They have some fans out here.
Everyone's new home that he loves, by the way, guys.
Yeah, right.
They go with the kid. They go with C.J. Stroud if he's still there at number 5.
Wow.
I believe you guys.
Wow.
I believe you guys love this kid. You guys might not admit it.
Wow.
And I believe you guys will have him sit behind Geno and take over that position after Geno is done. I know I say it a lot. Hold on. I know I've talked a lot of shit about Geno, about people sitting behind him, but you got to remember, at West Virginia, this kid was the kid when he came out of college. So I give him that he'll be able to mentor him. So I see
Wasn't he
CJ
a top
Stroud.
pick when he came out of college?
He was the kid. He was him.
He was a top 5 pick.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, he was supposed to be our first rounder, and then he fell. He actually fell to the second round.
You
Did he fall to the second round?
I thought he
I thought the Jets took him in the
The one
first
that
round.
the one that fell to the second round was Pat White.
No, he fell to the second round.
Oh,
Look
he
it
did?
up,
Oh,
Alan.
really?
I probably
I thought he got number one. I thought because that's what they were.
so I know is because I had that exact moment you guys did. For some reason I always had him as like a late first round pick, and then I remember someone said that I was like, huh? And I looked it up and it was the early second round. I
Okay.
want to say it was the 43rd. I could be wrong, Alan, but it was like the 43rd pick when he got drafted.
But I said I see CJ Stroud going number 5 to the Seattle Seahawks if he falls to
Wow.
that is my 5.
Wow.
Guys.
That's a big one, bro. That's a big one.
Yes.
Let's see. He was taken with the.
It was either 37, 41, or 43. Which one is it?
Oh, wow. 39.
39, I think.
39, second round.
Yep.
Wow. I
Still,
thought he was a first rounder.
But like I said, hey, I think Pete Carroll will sit him behind Gino and know who is
He's from Florida.
Yeah.
I did
He's
not
a
know that. He's from Florida. Wow.
Florida kid. He ain't gonna like it up here.
Yeah.
Probably quit halfway through the season because he's gonna know how bad it is up here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No doubt. All right, Amos, you're up.
No, I honestly don't hate Efren's top 5. There is one thing I will disagree with Efren, and I'll get to that in a second. But I don't hate it though. So one, it's yeah, he got it right. Bryce Young, that's probably the easiest pick by far. I mean, he's literally the best. He has the highest ceiling. He's the safest QB pick there is. And you need an elite QB to be a really good team. So that's easy. That's number 1. Number 2 is my hardest pick, and this is where I disagree with Efren about.
Mm-hmm.
So the Texans QB spot this past season was absolutely abysmal. I mean, none of their QBs they have on the roster are starting quality QBs. They're really bad. They're not good. And so, with that said, it makes me want to take the QB, but I also do agree with Efren in the sense of pick Will Anderson Jr., who is the best player available. So that's what I'm suffering right now with. So with that said, I'm gonna go with CJ Stroud number 2, and I'll tell you guys why. So I'd expect this pick to probably be the most debatable for you guys with me. So the reason why I'm going with CJ Stroud is you have to have, first and foremost, QB is the most important position bar none in sports. Okay, that's first and foremost. Secondly, I am under the belief that CJ Stroud can be a top 5 to top 10 QB. And we saw it his last game, guys, right? CJ Stroud, he was always really good. I mean, literally, if you look at his numbers compared to Bryce Young, it's literally like even. It's as close to even as possible. But he absolutely dominated Georgia, as you guys saw in the semifinals. He was fabulous. He was great. And so I'm taking that CJ Stroud in the belief that he can be a top 10 guy. And so I would rather have a top 10 QB than a Will Anderson Jr., who I think is going to be elite. But I don't think Will Anderson Jr. is a Von Miller type, meaning I don't think he's a Garrett Garrett who's with the Browns.
Well,
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett, nice.
Myles Garrett. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's or a Bosa, right? I don't see Will Anderson Jr. as a Bosa type, that the best of the best pass rushers. But I do see him as really good. So because of that, I'm gonna go with Stroud number 2. Number 3 for Arizona, it's the easiest pick there is Will Anderson Jr., right? You're gonna get the best defensive player in the draft, for sure, the safest. You don't need a QB at Arizona, so you get Will Anderson Jr. Number 4. This is a brutal spot, man. I know Efren loves some Will Levis Jr. Bro, I hate this pick for the Colts. I'm going to tell you guys why. If I'm the Colts, I'd probably trade back because I don't love Will Levis and I don't love Anthony Richardson. But I know that it would probably be hard for them to trade back. And so, and I know I would go with Tyree Wilson, but I know they wouldn't go Tyree Wilson. So, and I know you said what I would do, Al.
They already have DeForest Buckner there.
Yeah, but DeForest Buckner he's an inside. He's strictly an.
But they're out. But their defense, their front seven is solid.
Who's their best pass rusher though, Efren?
What's his name?
Yeah, what's the dude that plays off the end?
That's
What,
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They don't have an elite pass rusher, so you got to remember, Turner is elite. He is elite, but he's strictly an inside guy, and so that's what you would say if I said Jalen Carter. Whereas Tyree Wilson, he's more of an outside guy who can be an inside guy, and so they don't have that right now on the roster. So I would look at the Colts for Tyree Wilson personally, but I know they I just know they wouldn't do it. So I'm just go Will Levis, and I get it, Alan. I get it, Alan. I know you said what you would do, but the Colts need a QB so bad. And I'll tell you guys why, because they've been going through this whole thing since Luck, right? Where they tried Philip Rivers, who was washed up at the time. They tried the guy from the Eagles.
No, they tried Matt Ryan. Nick Foltz.
Matt Ryan, but I'm right though.
Yeah, but they also did the redheaded kid from South Dakota, North Dakota.
The Eagles.
Carson Wentz.
And of course, so the point is, yeah, from Wentz and then Matt Ryan, they've literally failed the last 3 years as far as getting 1 year guys. So they're locked in as far as getting a QB. And so, and I know there's a lot of connections with them and Will Levis. So we'll just go ahead and go Will Levis at number 4. I'll make Efren happy. And then number 5 for the Seahawks. So that was 2. So yeah, number 5, the Seahawks will get Jalen Carter then, because that leaves us with either Jalen Carter or Tyree Wilson. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm tempted to go Tyree Wilson. I really am. But I just think Jalen Carter ceiling is a lot higher. You're talking about a 21-year-old versus a 23-year-old. And then let's not forget, guys, and you guys kind of alluded to this earlier. Jalen Carter was the best player on the best team last year, as you guys remember. They said that he was the most talented last year, and they had 5 guys from that defense last year go in the first round. So I'm gonna just go the ceiling, and I'll go with Jalen Carter at number 5. But that's my final 5.
So I understand what you said about. I like it. And I know we're gonna have our differences. I just don't understand the CJ Stroud pick when everybody says he's going down. Houston, they're in a rebuilding mode, and I think there's going to be more quarterbacks after this year or more down the line that they can pick up. That's the only reason I went with what's his name at that position in Houston.
So you're saying tank this year again?
I think they're going to take this year again. Because name me a starting receiver. Hold on. Name me a starting receiver that's going to be in Houston.
No, they
don't. If you take Stroud, then you can pick up in Jackson. You can pick up Jackson and Jigba with the second pick in the first round.
That's actually a spot you see him a lot at. But I'm going to tell you the sweet spot, Efren. The sweet spot for receivers is actually where the Texans are in the second round. You're going to have the best of the best slot guys available in the second round. So to me, I'm waiting to the second round to get that top receiver. And I'm going to tell you what, Efren. While I disagree, as far as it's for example, you're saying everyone's talking about CJ Stroud falling back. Well, that was just Allen, right? And Allen's saying what he's hearing. And yeah, you're right. CJ Stroud could fall back to 5 or 6, but to me, I believe Stroud's the second best QB. I'm going to go with him at the most important position. Now, Efren, I will admit though, I from what I'm hearing, the Texans management would agree with you more than me because again, from what I'm hearing, the Texans are going to go with the best player, which is the pass rusher. You know what I'm saying? So they agree with you more than me, just to be clear. But I guess the only thing I would just disagree with you is I just think their QB situation is abysmal, and so I don't want to put words in your mouth, Efren, but you almost make it seem you want to go ahead and totally punt the QB position, right? Whereas to me, when you have 2 picks and you were that dreadful, to me it tells me the Texans are going to get a QB this year. It's just a matter of if they're going to get him at number 2, 12, or the first pick of the second round, right? Because you could still, to your point, Efren, you could theoretically maybe get a hooker with the first pick of the second round, you know what I'm saying? Or at 12, who knows if Stroud, Levis, or Richardson falls to 12. And I actually do think that's kind of what they're thinking. You know what I'm saying? I do think that they're thinking, hey, if we get the best player, which is Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson, we can get one of those QBs to 12. And so that's all I'm saying. I actually do think they kind of tend to agree with you, but you just made it seem like you would punt the whole QB position in general, which I don't know if I could agree with.
And I understand what you're saying about that one, and you're not even I know who you're picking. I'm just looking at it my way. How I would look at it is we're trying to build from our defense backwards, and we have 2 picks. And you're right about the CJ Stroud and the receiver. That is right. I clearly understand that. Like, I wasn't thinking about the receiving part of it, because I was like, why not get the best available player, and which is in my head who I said, and I'm just like, okay, but when you're saying it this way,
that's smart, Efren. And I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off, so I apologize. But if I could just jump back too, if you guys remember me saying this year, they say there's really only about 15 true first rounders this year, right? And so to that point, and it kind of makes your point more right, though, Efren. To that point, you get the best player regardless, number 2. So Will Anderson, Tyler, whoever they think's the best, right? But if by the 12th pick, if you either get one of those last few first round picks available, or if let's be real, if you're at picking number 20, you're not going to get a legit first round pick, right? So why not get a QB like a Levis, Stroud, Rich, if they fall to 12 or whatever? And so my point is, if you're not going to get a first round talent by pick 12, 13, 15, whatever, anyways, right? Then go ahead and get that QB who could be a top 10 guy. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you wouldn't, your point earlier, Efren, you're not going to skip out on an elite talent like Will Anderson to get a QB, but I could live with skipping out on a good talent like top 12, 15 to get a QB. You know what I'm saying?
And can you guys remind me
later than 12, or
so I think at 12.
Is that what you're saying, Amos? Well, you're saying later than 12?
Well, my point is, I think at 12,
later than 12.
Point is at 12, you're going to be able to get one of those 4 at 12. So if you love all 4, you could probably get at least one of those 4 at 12. But I love Hooker, right? So theoretically, if to Efren's point, if you're just saying, okay, you know what, let's just get the best talent available, well, you could theoretically double down on number 12, get the best other guy, whatever it is, still a top 15 pick, and then that's still a first rounder. And then again, second round, you get the first pick in the second round, go get you a Hooker. Or if you think he's not going to be available, trade up 6 spots, which will cost you a third round pick. And now you have the best pass rusher. At 12, you have the best corner or the second best corner. So you have 2 legit first round guys. And then you could trade up into the second round to the first. And now you have your QB. So I wouldn't hate it if you did something like that. You know what I'm saying? I guess, again, just to be clear, the only thing I guess I would just disagree with Efren about is riding with the QBs that they had, because it gets to a point, Efren, and I hear you. If you're rebuilding, it's like, well, what's wrong with one more rebuild year? And I get it, and I'm usually with that. But that QB room was so dreadful, from what I've heard and seen, that they just couldn't imagine going back into next season with just those 2 guys. They're gonna add a guy. It's just a matter of when they do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What pick was Deshaun Watson when he got drafted to Houston? Was he the number 1 pick?
No. No, he wasn't, because that was the same. No, he was not. Deshaun Watson, he was not the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Let me look real quick, because you guys remember Deshaun Watson went number 10 or 12. I'll look real quick.
The only reason I'm saying that is, do you guys remember the number 1 pick they had? What happened to the number 1 pick? Like, they chose that quarterback that one year.
It was a 2017 draft, right? I think.
Yeah, when he went to, when they had I was trying to figure out if he was the number 1 pick or not. Deshaun Watson.
He wasn't. I promise you, he was not the number 1 pick. It was the same year Trubisky went number 2. Remember, because the Bears get made fun of for picking Trubisky over.
They fucked up. Yeah,
that's right.
So you guys,
that's right. Trubisky.
You guys, the top 15 of that year. It was Myles Garrett number 1, Mitchell Trubisky number 2 to the Bears, Solomon Thomas. If you guys remember, the Niners get killed, right? Because Thomas, and they needed a QB. And then you got Leonard Fournette, Corey Davis, Jamal Adams, Mike Williams at 7, McCaffrey at 8, John Ross at 9, and then Mahomes was at number 10. So Mahomes was 10, and Deshaun Watson was number 12.
Number 12, huh?
Yeah, because the last number 2 pick or number 1 pick that Houston had, and they went with quarterback, was the one that was their expansion
was
year.
Derek Carr.
David Carr. David Carr, and they just
David,
ruined
yeah.
it. So that's why I believe that.
Well, let's be real, they messed that up
yes,
because
big
you drafted with an expansion, right? He had no chance, And if you're part of a program like Fresno, that's not a very good program, Like
Oh
if
my
you're
God, man! We were eighth in the nation that year. We beat everybody. We went to Wisconsin and beat them. We went to Nebraska and beat them.
like Seattle,
Don't you
we all
be
know
talking
that.
about? Don't
No,
you
but
be
we're
talking
just
about
talking.
Fresno
We're
like
talking
that?
overall, bro. You got 1 year that they were in the top 10. Come on now.
No, we've been in the top 10.
Come on now.
We've been in the top
Was
10.
Efren saying
Well, okay, twice. Okay,
We
twice.
own the. Hey,
Okay, twice.
just know we own the Pac-12. Just know that. Just know that Fresno State owns the Pac-12.
And just tell that
Owns the
AD,
Pac-12.
Efren, tell that AD I said thank you. By the way, just tell her I said thank you.
Well, I'm done.
All right, so you ready for my top 5?
Yes.
Yeah, give us your top 5.
Yes.
Let's start.
All right, so I got Stroud going number 1. If I was Carolina, I would take him. And the reason I say that is because the numbers between him and Young are so close that it doesn't really matter as far as the analytics goes. What I'm looking at is the kid is 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". He's 215 pounds. He'd probably be a little heavier by the time he gets to the NFL. And he's played in a system. I know everybody knocks him because he played with a bunch of good players, but that's kind of what the NFL is. You're stepping up. So he's already ready to play with a bunch of guys that are ready to play. Okay. Second, I got the Texans taking, if I was their GM, I would take Anthony Richardson. And I just think that his ceiling is so high that he would be the perfect fit for them as far as the future goes. Okay.
Dan got to you. He got to you, huh? Dan, good old Dan got to you, Alan. I see, huh?
No, that didn't get to me. Richardson he's been high on my list since the combine. I just think that he outperformed everybody in the combine as far as the drills that they had him go through as a quarterback. He just outperformed everybody. Okay. Third, I have the Cardinals taking Anderson, and I think he's, in my opinion, he's probably the best player in the draft this year. And probably the best player the last 2 years in the NCAA. Everybody talks about Carter, but I don't see it in myself. He was better the year before last than he was this past season. He didn't show me much at all this past year.
No, that's facts. That's not. I'm not. I don't think I wouldn't argue that. Yeah.
Okay. And so I don't necessarily know if he's going to stick to is he I don't know if he's going to stick to an edge guy. He might end up being a linebacker that's going to play on the line when it's all said and done. But I just think that kid has got otherworldly talent on the defensive side of the ball. So here's where I'm going to shock you guys, because I think that everybody's talking about this kid being magical, and I think that the best fit for him would be in Indianapolis. And I'm not saying because of the coaching, because I think the coaching probably would be better in North Carolina. But if I'm North Carolina, I'm going to take the kid that's NFL. He looks like an NFL player. But I think Young would be a really good fit for these guys because of the fact that he has the ability to escape the pocket. He won't have to run all the time because he has somebody that can run the ball. Okay. Now, granted, they probably do need to pick up a receiver, but I think that what they have right now would be enough. If he's as magical as everybody says, he can make this team a better team. He can make those guys better on that team. So I would take Young in Indianapolis. And then finally, Seattle, I think you have to take the kid that is the prodigal son, the troublesome kid, and go with Carter, because if anybody's going to make him better, it's going to be Pete Carroll. I just don't see it any other way. And that's my top 5.
And That is
And I know, I
uh,
just floored you guys with Young going to Indianapolis.
that
I just floored you guys with him going to Indianapolis, but I think that would be a better solution for him.
dang, so that means you have Anthony Richardson going from second round to number 2 pick. You have Bryce dropping to number 4.
Yeah.
I
I'm still in bewilderment because I just don't see it. I don't see what everybody else is seeing in this kid. I don't know. And I might be angry because he went to Alabama and I just don't like Alabama. I don't know. It might be something subconsciously that I'm not picking up. But I don't know. I got to see it first, and I think, I mean, if you really want to challenge him, pick him in Texas, take him in Texas, and see if he really is the real deal. Then that would be the place to put him to see if he's going to perform.
think you gotta look at the fact that is right. You want to see him perform, but he's proven he did better than Tua did at Alabama. If you think about it, and look how good
Yeah,
Tua.
he did, no?
And Tua, even in NFL, Tua is a good quarterback if you give him time. But that's with any quarterback, I believe.
Yeah, that's you're preaching to the choir when you say that.
Yeah,
I mean, if you
yeah.
give any quarterback time, he's probably going to make the right decision and get the ball to the right person.
So
But
we know
that's the key is, and that's what they say he is that he's a quick thinker and that he makes the right decisions. So we'll have to see. My biggest thing with him is his size. I don't see him being able to take the punishment. Now, granted, he may not have to take the punishment because they say he's got eyes on the back of his head, so he may not get hit in the NFL. But one thing I do know is that the game is twice as fast in the NFL as it is in the NCAA.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
and I don't care. I don't care if you're playing the 31st team in the league or the number 2 team in the league. The game is fast. So he's going to have to show me.
Let me just add something though, and I think they're right on when they say this. So you're right; it is faster. It's a different game in the NFL than college. But you know what's different in the NFL than college? Rules, and they protect those QBs way more in the NFL than they do college. And it just goes back to the stats. If you look at the amount of flags on QBs, at college versus NFL, it's so there's way more protection. They call flags way more on these NFL guys than the college guys. And so what they were saying is, the irony is he'll actually be a lot more protected in the NFL because, again, these guys can really touch these QBs in the NFL, whereas college, it's pretty, especially in the SEC, oh, man, you can pretty much do whatever you can get away with whatever you want. So it kind of goes both ways, though. They're a lot more protected, ironically, in the NFL because they don't want you touching the QBs. They want, for marketing, for money-wise, they want the QBs being available for the next week.
Tell that to that kid in Cincinnati. Tell that to that kid in Chicago. The last 3 years, man. You're right. You are right, but I think that there are certain circumstances that you can't run from, and those I just you
but
put him on a team that's one of the worst teams in the league, and you better believe that he's going to be scrambling for his life. Look at what happened to Tua last year, and he wasn't on a bottom feeder like this kid is going to be on.
True. All right, but then I can go to you and say the same thing about these college QBs that got hurt. They got, there's plenty of SEC QBs that never came back. There's plenty of SEC QBs that got so many sacks that they didn't even got put in the game. So you're naming literally the most injury-prone QBs in the league, and that's fine, and we get that. But in any league, there's always going to be those players, and that's the ones you named. But I'm just saying,
Who's injury prone?
You just named all the QBs from the NFL that are injury prone.
Who?
You just named Fields. You said Fields, right? You made it seem like Fields is
okay. So he was. When was he injured? The last
You
two
just-
seasons.
He was
I'm
injured.
not-
Yeah,
you're-
he was.
And
He
Burrow
got injured. He got injured against Chicago.
But ever since then, okay.
What's up?
Burrow got hurt his rookie season, and he's
Came
been
back.
fine since then. But he's still taking the last 2 years. He's had more sacks than anybody in the league.
And I get that. That's a Bengal offensive line for you. My point is, they're not getting hurt though. They're protected in the league though. You don't see them getting hurt. I thought you were saying Fields got hurt.
But you don't.
So
No, I'm not saying he got hurt. I'm just saying that he took a lot of sacks, and we're talking about a kid that's mobile.
All right, let's end this conversation.
Who can move and get out of the pocket.
Okay, but fine. But like, look at Will Levis. Efren, you know about Will Levis more than any of us. Will Levis took a historic amount of sacks in college football, right? Yeah, you already know.
Yeah.
So he got punished. He had so many injuries. He was broken down. So end of the day, Alan, it's good. It's good talk. It's good discussions. But I mean, we can both point to that game. Like, there's QBs out there that were just.
I don't have Levis. I don't have Levis, and even in my, I would consider him a second rounder or even a third rounder. To be honest with you, I don't have him in my.
I feel
he wouldn't be in. You know.
We're not Efren. We're not arguing Levis's talent. The argument is, will these players be more safer once they get to the league? And that's my only argument. And I'm saying to you, Levis, you're naming all these players that got hurt in the NFL. Well, I'm naming these players that got hurt in college. And Levis got hit every play with Kentucky. You know, he's not going to get hit every play in the NFL.
I hear both of you guys. The way you guys are talking about it, and I understand you're talking about the injuries that happen in college compared to an injury that happened in the NFL. But the way I look at it, like the Bryce Young situation in Indianapolis, the reason I said Will Levis goes there is that I feel they have a good offensive line to protect him there. You gotta remember, not all quarterbacks are protected. It don't matter where you go to. All quarterbacks, like Amos has said, yeah, they protect certain quarterbacks now. Tua, when did he get protected? You got to remember, he had concussions. The refs didn't even pull him out of the game. You got to remember that too, Amos. That you can say that he played in that Buffalo game, the whole game after the refs and everybody seen him stumbling, and they didn't take him out. You understand?
And that wasn't even on a hit. That was on a push. He got thrown back and then slammed his head on the turf.
And
so it wasn't even really a hit. It was more of a
and like
he
And
got pushed.
look what happened. And then after the playoff, right before the playoff games, he got a concussion in one of those final games. Didn't say nothing till the next day when he got the what's it called? So they're not trying. Refs miss plays. Let's be real. Refs miss a lot of plays. And I understand what you're saying about protecting them. No. I understand what you're saying about protecting them, but not all quarterbacks are going to be protected.
I didn't say all quarterbacks are protected. That's not even close to what I'm just saying. In the NFL, they're more protected than NCAA football. I mean, they are. Will Levis had, I think it was. That's the whole point. And it's. I mean, I don't really think it's debatable. You guys don't have to agree with me. Will Levis had. I think it was versus Florida, he suffered a concussion and he still kept playing. So it's just like, again, we can play this game.
Yeah.
Where, he should have. Yeah.
Well,
end of the day.
No, you're right. And the protocol is definitely inferior in college football than it is in the NFL. You're absolutely right about that.
Yep. It was a good talk. NFL Combine. Make sure you guys watch the NFL Draft. Please subscribe to our channel. Please like us or like us. Any questions you guys have, any comments, feel free to comment under. And just know, hey, we're sports bros. We talk about sports. We argue. You see us argue. We all know that LeBron sucks and Michael Jordan is the best. Yeah, I said that before we got off. Ha, ha, ha. But good luck. And, hey, we'll be on next week. Laters.